10 laps of the Circuit de la Sarthe until we crown our world champion then. The tension is in the air, and we are on the way.
Oh, wait, hello. What's this? Car's gone wide. It's pack racing, just like stock cars down the straight.
And look at this on the inside, nearly Yamanaka. What a race this has proven to be. This is going to be so close. They're coming down this start-finish straight for the penultimate time.
It's become a chess game now. Neither of them want the lead at this point.
The Subaru take the honours. The World Championship in the Nations Cup. Takuma Miyazono is the World Champion.
Hello, I can't believe it. We're back. Welcome to a fantastic new season of the FIA Gran Turismo Championships. It's round one of the World Series and we've got two cracking races coming up. A little later, it'll be the return of the Nations Cup, where last year's champion, Takuma Miyazono from Japan, picks up his rivalry with Italy's Valerio Gallo. But first up, though, is the Manufacturers Series, where 12 of the world's finest car makers go head-to-head. Can any of these magnificent vehicles steal the crown from last season's champions, Team Subaru, with the mercurial Miyazono at the wheel? Well, who better to answer such a question than our very own Tom Brooks and Jimmy Broadbent, who are raring to go in the GT Garage. Over to you guys.
Yeah, cheers, Julia. Welcome along then to the GT Garage. We're back again in 2021, JB. It's all right, isn't it?
It's massive in here. I'm getting lost in here, I think.
To Manufacturer Series and Nations Cup, the two races that we've got coming up for World Series 1 for our 2021 FIA GT Championships. What are the differences between the two for those who have just joined us for the first time?
OK, right. Easy way of saying it, I guess. Nations is about the individual. Get out there and try for yourself. Manufacturers is all about the team and the car. So you go online, pick your favourite car, you know, whatever you want. Nissan, obviously, if you have taste.
You can't choose it again, man. It just doesn't work like that. It's the third year in a row.
I can do it whatever I want, Tom, and it's glorious. So, and then you come online, and then you basically fight it out against other people and their manufacturers. And the thing I love so much about this series is all the cars are slightly different. You know, some, if you're looking at Group 3, some are rear-wheel drive. Well, they're all rear-wheel drive. Some are mid-engine, some are front-engine. It means you have different characteristics of different circuits, and it makes for some awesome racing.
So if we look back at the past champions then, of course, in 2018 we had Lexus, 2019 we had Toyota, 2020 we had Subaru. They're all Japanese manufacturers. We need the European boys to come in and give them a big shake-up at some point.
So I'm glad you remember 2018. That's gone in my head now. It's already gone. But yeah, I mean, we've always had Mercedes looking pretty strong in the past. So I reckon one to watch out for with Lamborghini as well.
Pretty quick in pre-season, right? Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do.
That'd been really good. So hopefully we can have some more representation from this part of the world.
With a bit of luck for us, anyway. Anyway, the boys are out on track now, ready for qualifying ahead of the Manufacturer Series. So let's head over to Suzuka, shall we, and see what they're getting up to. Here we are then, the Suzuka circuit in Japan. That plays host to our Manufacturers Series race today. A track which really does need no introduction, but as you can see, we'll give it one anyway. 5.8 kilometres in that figure-of-8 layout. Lots of tight and twisty corners.
They're one of the most famous circuits in the world, Suzuka, as Tom said. Loads of corners here that are world famous. 130R, absolute balls to the wall through there. Full throttle down to the chicane at the end of the circuit, of course. Home of one of the most controversial crashes in F1 history. Hopefully our guys won't be as controversial today.
With a bit of luck. You can see there 52 metres of elevation from the top to the bottom of the circuit. Let's take a closer look at the race details. Group 3 cars then for the Manufacturer Series on the medium and soft tyres, but a single lap qualifying session to shake things up a bit here, JB.
Yeah, that means basically you mess up on one corner, you're going all the way down to the back of the grid. So you've got to be quick and able to perform under pressure here today.
15 laps for our drivers then. Let's head over to the grid, shall we? Get this one underway. Two groups of 6 here. Matheus Neto, the Brazilian driver, the first to head out onto the track. He is in an Audi for this season. And Matheus, we've seen him, of course, Jimmy, in previous World Tour events. Looking forward to seeing what he can do this year.
Yeah, I'm sure the quick as he always has been. Behind him at the pit lane is Jonathan Parker in the VW Beetle. Bit of a cult classic, this car. I love seeing it go round, of course. VW never really done that well any of the World Series so far, so hopefully a bit of a change in form for them.
What do you reckon about the next driver coming out on track? Manuel Troncoso, we've seen him, of course, in World Tour events previously. He came out last year in the World Finals, was pretty competitive there. This year he's with Lamborghini once again. Can he take it to the front is the crucial question.
Yeah, I reckon so. Let's go back to, though, also on track we have Ryoto Kokibun in the Mazda. You can hear it before you see it. Awesome looking machinist, of course, as well, rotary powered. And of course our world finalist third in the Nations Cup there. So did really well, did Kokibun, but looking to do better here in manufacturers.
Adriano Carrazza for Toyota comes out 5th on the order here. He of course finished 2nd runner-up to Kokibun in the 2019 World Tour.
And last but certainly not least of Group 1 is Klee behind there. New name for us here in the Citroën manufacturer, so a bit unknown. I'm really interested to see how he'll do and what sort of impression he'll make here in the Manufacturer World Series.
So then the drivers out on track here, as you can see, just coming around on their reconnaissance laps to get some heat into the tyres and the brakes. One-shot qualifying for these guys as well here, so only one bite of the cherry, and it does mean, of course, if you do make a mistake on your flying lap, that's it, and you're going to be starting down the order.
Yeah, luckily these guys are a bit more competent than I am. Qualifying one shot for me is awful. I tend to mess it up every time. All it takes is one corner, one running wide, one aggressive application of the throttle. All that time just disappeared. He's broken the first beam through the first sector, coming then through the first Degners up towards the hairpin, and of course our spoon curve, that we picked out for overtaking spots in the race. We have no times yet, no splits to show up, because Neto is going to be the first person across the beam. He's going to be the time to beat, so it's all on him at the moment. Yeah, Lamborghini's been a manufacturer that's sort of just been waiting in the wings almost. It's been better and better and better as time's gone on, but of course I don't think it's really had a strong representative until now. With Troncoso, so we'll have to see if he can really bring this Italian brand up the top of the field where arguably it belongs, where it is in real life.
Problems for Alex Lee, I should say, rather. He's in 6th position, as you can see, but he's got a penalty on his flying lap as it stands at the moment. Here comes Princess Nato, meanwhile, to the line to complete the first of the flyers here at Suzuka. He sets the benchmark with a 1:56.7. What about Donovan Parker in the Beetle? Is he going to be able to beat that? He's 0.2 of a second shy, nearly 0.3 in the final sector. To the line, it's not quite enough for him so far.
No, Troncoso though looking very quick at the moment. 4 up on the best lap time at the moment. Comes across the timing line, breaks it with a 56.5. So he's gone quickest by 2 tenths of a second over Nato behind. Then following him across the line, in the background, Ryoto Kokibun, of course, in that Mazda RX Vision, hugs the wall on the inside. He does that for the shortest line to the line. And his best time, he goes fastest. Again, another 10th better, 56.3.
Very impressive there from Ryoto Kokibun. Now Carrazza not had a good lap behind the wheel of that Toyota GR Supra. He's a few tenths of a second shy, and he only goes 4th quickest in our first group. It's just Alex Lee to come to the line, but of course we know he picked up a penalty, and as you can see, 1.1 seconds down as a result of that. He is understandably then, as a result of that, the slowest of the 6 drivers within that first group so far. Here though is Toshiro Kato. The Ford GT is the car that he is behind, and well, that Ford again getting a bit long in the tooth, but Toshiro hoping that that will be the vehicle to power him to the top of the standings.
I think that Ford's older than some of the competitors actually taking part in this. They've been around for a long time. Behind him, Angel Enestrosa. Of course, he's been a Porsche driver for a long time as Angel. We'll know him from the 2019 World Tour Tokyo event where he won in the manufacturing series with Porsche. Great event that, of course, so definitely one to watch.
What about our runner-up last year in the World Tour, Valerio Gallo? Honda finished 4th, of course, in 2020 in the Manufacturers Series. This year, they'll be hoping to get themselves onto the podium, and this man, Valerio Gallo, will, of course, be aiming for the top step of that podium.
Behind him on track right now is Lucas Spinelli for Mercedes. This is a brand that I think has seen a little bit of a downturn really in performance recently. AMG, that car used to be right at the top of the standings, has been struggling a bit recently, but if anyone's going to bring it back to the top, it will be Lucas, so keep an eye on him in this session.
Nicholas Rubelar, he is not too far adrift here of him, and he is driving for Team BMW in 2021. Of course, he's been a very big stalwart with that team, the M6 now getting one of the to be one of the older cars on the grid, but still very competitive. Let's see whether Nicholas can do the business in 2021.
I'll tell you what, speaking of competitive, sorry, we have to keep him Mizuno behind them in the Subaru. So not only the Manufacturers Series champion last year, also the Nations Cup champion from last year. Oh yeah, and the Supra, just put that in there as well. So triple world champion in this car. Pressure's on, I think it's fair to say for him.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what Takuma is going to be able to do, and see whether that Subaru, with the balance of performance adjustments we've seen into 2021, is going to be the competitive force it was with the likes of Ricardo now also behind the wheel of that machine last year. So yeah, Toshiro Kato just going through these S-bends here, and you've got to be smooth here, but you can see him just sort of soaring away a little bit there at the wheel. Is that going to cost him time, do you think?
Well, we can find out. He's about to come through the first split right now. It's a little bit rough through there, and it does show a tenth. And a tenth doesn't sound like much, but you keep taking that tenth, you keep losing that tenth at the end of that. That's almost half a second. So not a bad first sector from Gator. But we know that Ford traditionally has been fairly quick down the straights, and of course the S isn't straight. I mean, you can probably tell that from the screen, but I thought I'd just explain it to you anyway, if you couldn't see. So behind him on track, of course, Angel and Estroza, as Cato now is 4 tenths down. And Estroza, definitely one to watch, I think. He's very quick for the middle sector in that Porsche. His split only 2 tenths down off Ryota Kokubun at the moment. So we'll double check this as we go on. How's Gallo doing at the moment? Let's see, he's coming through the second sector. Just missed his split time there, but it's still looking quite quick.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Into the hairpin. It's a really big opportunity to lose a lot of time getting to there. If you just outbrake yourself. Not too bad here from Valerio Gallo. What about Takuma Miyazono? Really clipping the curb very, very harshly on the inside there through the second deck, now under the track as it goes over you. This, of course, is a figure of 8 layout. He's 2 seconds shy, though, in that first sector. It's not great at all for him so far.
No, he's down there, so disappointing for Miyazono. A bit more disappointing for Kato out here, despite to finish his flying lap. He's half a second down at the last sector. Where he will be is crossing the line, still half a second down, puts him in 5th position. Here's Angel and Estroza. It's actually quite close, only about a 10th off Kokubun's time so far. Oh, he doesn't quite pip him. The 10th off will lead there, 2nd place for Estroza.
Look at Gallo, though. He's really on a charge. He's only 50 thousandths of a second down to the line. He goes. He loses a bit of time in that final sector. It's going to be second at the very best for the Italian driver behind the wheel of that Honda NSX this year. Now, what about Lucas Benelli, then, the Brazilian driver, the second of our Brazilians on the grid, aims towards the line with the Mercedes AMG. To it he comes. It's not been anything to write home about at all for him. 6th quickest is the best he can manage.
Keep an eye on Nico Rublar. This is a guy we used to call him Mr. Hot Lap back in the day, but taking an odd line there to the line. Doesn't quite hit the line of least resistance and go to 7th place, a little bit far off the lead. How about Miyazono, though, of course, our triple world champion from last year? He comes across the line and goes 6th. That will be disappointing for Takuma.
Yeah, certainly is going to be a lot of work to do then for Subaru come race day then. So that is your final qualifying order. Ryota Kokubun takes the spoils for Mazda in the Manufacturer Series for round 1 of our 2021 World Series.
Congratulations to Ryota Kokubun representing Team Mazda for grabbing that pole position for our Manufacturers Series race, which is coming up shortly. Now, you may have noticed that all our drivers are racing with new wheels today. We're delighted to be joined by BBS as our new official wheels partner. And those wheels will be racing at all these events that lie ahead for us in the FIA Gran Turismo Championships. As you can see, today is the first of our 4 World Series events, each of which include both Manufacturer Series and Nations Cup races. In August, we have the World Series Showdown, where each manufacturer has a team of 3 drivers competing across 3 races, and where the cream of the crop from the Global Online Series can stake their claim for a place at the Nations Cup World Series. Everything leads up to the World Finals in December, where this year's world champions will be crowned in both the Manufacturer Series and the Nations Cup. And guess what? You know what? It's not too late for you to qualify for the World Finals. Yes, you did hear me correctly. You could be competing. If you've got a PlayStation Plus account and a copy of Gran Turismo Sport, you can enter the FIA Gran Turismo Championships online, and it could be you who snatches Miyazono's crown. I mean, unlikely, but technically possible. Anyway, the winners of both of today's races will gain 3 points to take towards those World Finals. There's 2 points for second and 1 for third. But who will get those crucial points in our next race? And where will all the action be on today's track? Let's find out. Tom and Jimmy, where will the action be today on today's track? Thank you.
I'm glad you asked, Julia. Yeah, welcome over to our virtual version of Suzuka. This is an area we're calling the Holostrator. Gives us a chance to have a bit of an in-depth look at this figure of 8 layout, Jimmy.
Yeah, very pretty, isn't it? I like this. So, yeah, Suzuka, one of my favourite circuits, Frank is the driver. Amazing piece of tarmac. We've split it into 4 sectors, but we're going to be focusing on sector 3, specifically 2 corners, which is the hairpin and then the corner that leads into that, the spoon curve. Now, we've got a little bit of footage, archive footage, back from 2019. Thought we'd show you what we can expect in terms of overtaking around it. So we just join on board now with Mick Hazal, in the Nissan GTR. We're following the Mercedes and the Porsche, and you can see in front, a little bit of a squabble there. Mercedes takes advantage, goes up the inside, gets a great run coming out the corner, but the actual run to spoon is so long that you can get in the draft here and actually start gaining on the cars in front and set up for a nice move into the left-hander.
Absolutely. You've got to be really careful, though, if you're on the outside line, because if you're doing a battle with another car, if you run offline, as the Porsche does here, it allows an opportunity, allows a window for somebody else to come up the inside. So you've just got to be really, really careful in these close quarters racing, because these tracks are so much one lines through these different corners. So we've got to keep a real eye out for it, haven't we?
Thanks, guys. Some fascinating stuff there about what to look out for in the race ahead. Our Manufacturers Series race has got 12 great drivers representing the 12 highest-ranked manufacturers in Gran Turismo. And drivers and manufacturers are competing from locations dotted all across the world. And don't forget, wherever you are on the planet, you can watch this programme in all of these different languages. Whichever way you choose to watch us, one thing's for sure, the Manufacturers Series is back. And it's going to be more hotly contested than ever before.
It is time to go racing. The Manufacturers Series is about to get underway. Last year, Team Subaru won the Manufacturers Series for the very first time. And Mikael has out rounding the final corner and over the line to become the Manufacturers Series World Champion. Subaru's victory brings back painful memories for BMW's star driver, Nicolas Rubelar.
For me, the climax of the last season was basically the last pit stop, because when I was exiting, I just watched Mikael going around the outside of me of the pit stop in Interlagos, and I just watched them pulling away.
Where is Nico Rublar? There he is, coming out of the pit lane behind the Subaru WRX and behind the Honda, so he's lost out there.
We just missed the win by 4 seconds.
Subaru take the honours.
Strategy, like everything else, went out pretty perfectly in my opinion.
Mikael Hazal isn't competing this season, so Takuma Miyazono faces added pressure for Team Subaru. His epic performance in Race 2 of the World Finals suggests he can handle it.
最終ラップはやっぱりなんですかね、正直その唐津選手を追い抜くのがバトルもしていたので、その経験を生かして最終コーナーで何度か仕掛ければ前に出れるんじゃないかなというようなことは思っていたので。
Here we go then, Toyota defending once more, Miyazono trying to go the long way around the outside, switch back on the inside, and Miyazono and Subaru take the victory on the line. That is fantastic.
初めてこの世界大会の場でスバルという看板を背負って勝てたので、かなりこう、表情にも出ていたというか、それぐらい嬉しかったです。
Competition has never been fiercer. Mercedes-Benz won Race 1 of the World Finals last year and finished third overall. Their driver Lucas Binelli is one of many with high ambitions this time around.
Eu acho que o meu time pode ganhar a Manufacturers Series esse ano, devido a ter excelentes drivers.
This season we are coming stronger, we are coming with the rhythm from the last year, so expect to be at least on the podium.
The best way for us to win the championship is to work together all the time, because unity is the strength in these cases, especially for the Manufacturers Series.
Of course, I'll be rooting for Subaru, but yeah, it's going to be interesting.
チャンピオンを取るっていうことは目標ですけど、そこはあんまり意識しないで、なんですかね、一つでもこういい順位でゴールするっていうところをまずは最初の目標にして頑張っていきたいなというふうに思います。
Not only wins everything, he's also got the best manners in the whole of the Gran Turismo. So, anyway, that's hopefully got you in the mood for some racing. And now it's time to go trackside with Tom and Jimmy.
The drivers then are formed up on the grid ahead of World Series 1 as we get the Manufacturers Series underway for the FIA Gran Turismo Championships here at Suzuka. Ryota Kokeman lines up on home soil on pole position in the Mazda. Alongside him in the Honda NSX is a Valerio Gallo, the Italian. Row 2 is headed by the Chilean Angel Inestrosa for Porsche, and he has got Manuel Troncoso for company in the Lamborghini Huracan. Then on row 3, it's Vincenzo Neto, the Brazilian driver, the first of 2 Brazilians. He's competing for Audi this year with Takuma Miyazono, with Subaru, our 2020 Manufacturer Series World Champions in P6. Lucas Bonelli for Mercedes-Benz lines up in P7. And alongside him is the second of the Chileans, Nicolas Rubilar, once again for Team BMW. Team Toyota finished second in 2020. They line up down in 9th place with Adriano Carrazza behind the wheel. Tatsuhiro Kato in the Ford GT lines up in P10. Donovan Parker completes the final row of the grid, or heads the final row of the grid, and completing that is Alex Lee for Citroën, who, of course, as we know, had a very difficult day at the office when it came down to qualifying. So Ryota Kokeman leads the field away then as we get ready to get the Manufacturer Series underway. Jimmy, first look at the tyres. Kokeman and Gallo starting on the softs, but Inestrosa going for the mediums. What's that all about?
Interesting, really. Would have thought he'd sort of do the same as the rest, people around him, and try and stick the front pack. But obviously, I think he's thinking the long game. It's going to be quick at the end. It's going to be quick at the start. Maybe with lower fuel, making better use of the softer tyre. That's all I can think of right now. But it does mean that he's going to be under pressure from behind Troncoso and Neto, who are both on that soft compound tyre.
Well, there's been a lot of tension in the air as we get our new format underway this year. The World Series in 2021 at Suzuka will kick off the Manufacturer Series for the FIA Gran Turismo Championships. Ryota Kokeman leads the field around the final corner here in Japan. And on home soil, he will lead the field down towards that first turn as well as we get the race underway. So Kokeman leads from Gallo, from Inestrosa. Drivers weaving there in the background to try and get heat into their tyres. Crucial, of course, to have as much grip as possible before they hit the anchors into the first turn. Kokeman and Gallo also following suit, but it is the Japanese driver for the Japanese manufacturer of Mazda that leads the way into that first turn, followed by Gallo, followed by Inestrosa. But look already at the soft tyre shot at Manuel Troncoso. He's right up the rear wing of Inestrosa into the S-bends.
A bit of contact there actually between the two cars as Troncoso actually pushes Inestrosa through here, saying, well, get on with it, mate, come on, I don't want to lose touch of his front two. And of course, you're seeing the real difference there in the grip as Troncoso goes up the inside now of the Dunlop curve, slots by up, he goes, thank you very much, says Neto, tries to follow him through. They're going to be going 2 by 2, coming up to the Decklers at this rate. It seems that on the inside there, Inestrosa just trying to hold the line. Neto gets shuffled out wide. Miyazono takes advantage of that, goes up the inside of him. So does Bonelli, and Rubilar there as well. Neto going backwards at a rate of knots.
This is unbelievable, isn't it, for Vincenzo Neto? He's on the soft tyre. He should be fighting right at the sharp end, and now he's on the back foot with the Chilean Nicolas Rubilar for BMW really close behind. Here we cross back to the battle for the race lead between Kokeman and Valerio Gallo, though, coming out of the hairpin through the right-hander and then into that spoon curve. Again, an overtaking opportunity could present itself here for Gallo through into the left-hander. Kokeman, though, is wide to that, but it's a strong run out of this corner and onto the back straight. That's really what you want. So here is Gallo then in the slipstream. And is he going to try and take advantage of Kokeman and go for the race lead this early, or is he just going to try and sit behind the Japanese driver for the time being?
Have a look, goes up the inside there, does Gallo at the inside of 130 yard. Good place to take it, and Kokeman slips off, lets him through, doesn't want to go side by side this early on. You see how unsettled these cars are through there. There's no way as a flat corner for these guys. It really is a very difficult situation. And now Neto dips up the inside of Lucas Bonelli. They're going to run side by side now as Bonelli takes to the AstroTurf on the inside to try and extend the corner. But Neto's got the shortest line back up to 6th place. But you can see now what that move at the start of the race has cost Neto. He's just having to get back for his medium runners, and that gap already to the front is extending rapidly.
He's sitting duck on the straight there because here comes Nicolas Rubilar on the inside of Vincenzo Neto. They have the advantage of the slipstream, which of course the Brazilian for Audi did not have. I'd love to just stick it on more camera and watch Neto for the rest of this race, because his recovery drive on that soft tyre, especially in the opening few laps, is going to be very special indeed. But he's got to be careful here, because if he gets stuck behind the likes of Miyazono and Inestrosa for too long, that gap to the top 3 is just growing lap after lap at the moment.
Keep an eye on that. We go from Rubilar. You see pretty much pushing Bonelli through there. Rubilar not usually down into the 8th position there. He's usually seen more in the top lot, but of course this medium compound tyre is going to be a slow start. Meanwhile, triple world champ Takuma Miyazono. Bet you like saying that. I like saying it. Sounds good, doesn't it? Inestrosa in front of him right now. And definitely two heavyweights right now on track, both on the medium compound tyre, both sort of leading the medium runners as it is. Nato, again, stuck there in that slot. This is a disastrous start for him, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah, you're completely right. It's not ideal at all, and he's really going to have to try and pull something out of the bag here. We know the likes of Turismo and Camille Mastroza are both very talented drivers. That's why they're fighting inside the top 5. That's why they're competing in the World Series itself. And they're not going to make it an easy job for Vincenzo Nato to get past. A good run through Spoon could be an opportunity to challenge against Turismo, but of course the Japanese driver in the middle of this sandwich at the moment does have the advantage in the slipstream in front of Mastroza. But Nato, though, is very close behind. They come down the back straight in towards 130. He lifts off, sticks better of it. They're all running nose to tail through the left-hander, and that's sensible there for him, but he's going to try and send it on the brakes. A Dandare move. Miyazono doesn't hold up much of a charge, and now it is Nato in the Audi up into P5.
Miyazono had his hands on there, sorry. So he was flashing to say, Nato, mate, get up the inside. I know you're quicker than me. I'm not going to fight you. Let's not mess up each other's race here, and just be as quick and fit as possible. Actually, they're down the straight. There's a little bit of a bump draft down there. He does not want to pass. He knows Nato's going to be quicker. Lets the brakes a little bit earlier to not run into the back of the car in front. And very sensible driving there from our triple world champ.
That is why he is a triple world champ, driving exactly like that. Meanwhile, back in the front, here is Valerio Gallo then, the Italian driver, runner-up in the Nations Cup last year. Honda finished 4th in the the Manufacturer Series in 2020 as well. He'll be hoping to try and catapult them to the top of the order. Mazda, again, they are now a partner of the FIA Championship, and they will certainly be hoping for a stronger finish to their 2021 season. This, of course, is the rotary-powered Vision Gran Turismo machine that we saw making its debut halfway through last year. And here we can see Mastroza right up the gearbox now. With Nato right up the gearbox of the Porsche driver into the hairpin we go. Is it going to be a send on the brakes? It certainly is. Much more grip with the soft tyre. Side by side they run. Nato on the inside, Mastroza on the outside. The two German manufacturers going head to head with one another. And on this occasion, it's Nato who gets in front. And now he has got a 3.7 second gap to John Coulter in third place as well.
Isn't that funny that he's now 5 seconds off the lead because of that one, he took the wrong line at one corner and it got shuffled. That's just how competitive it is here at the top level in GT Sport. You really have to be on it on every lap and every corner, otherwise you just end up going backwards. And right now, the fight for the lead is still between Ryota Kokubun and Gallo behind, in front, sorry, in that NSX. And Kokubun a little bit wide there on the curve, picks up a 0.5 second penalty. That's going to be, he's going to be saying, I imagine, some sort of colourful Japanese swear words through there, because that's going to cost him.
It's a good thing we don't understand everything on that basis, isn't it, really? Let's have a look and see what happens. So let's go in towards 130i. He's going to clip the grass on the outside here, over the white line. Whoa, he was lucky the car didn't rotate round on him through there, because you're right on the ragged edge of adhesion through that corner. Kokubun there picking up a half-second penalty as a result of that. Meanwhile, Gallo's got it all out of shape in the first corner. Look at how much that gap has come down. Of course, Kokubun has that half-second penalty to serve, which he will serve in the next penalty zone. So that's going to drop him back, but if he can get himself ahead of Gallo, then he might be in with a shout here of trying to hold on to this race lead.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gallo will know, of course, that Kokubun has a penalty too, so he wouldn't be feeling too pressurised there. But he must have ran wide at the bottom there, because that gap just shrunk. Troncoso behind as well. Keep an eye on him in the Lamborghini. We know that Lambo's quick around here, and you can't really miss it in that familiar bright Lamborghini green. He'll be looking to try and get him to the back of this pack, because there is a draft round here, of course. Right now he's just about outside. You see the draft uses about 1.2, 1.1 seconds, depending, of course, on how it's set. That's the rough area where you start getting a bit of a toe from the car in front. So if he can get within that, we'll find him to pull up to the back of these guys. And we're going to free
Meanwhile, here is now Miyazono with Mastroza right in front of him. Mastroza going backwards on the medium compound of tyre as it stands at the moment. Clearly, Miyazono has got more pace underneath him, a little bit more confidence and a bit more speed. Now coming into that penalty zone, here is Ryota Kokubun then behind the wheel of the Mazda. Half second it is, and that's going to drop him right into the slipstream range of Manuel Troncoso after he served the penalty. His car grays out then, and here is Troncoso right up, and of course he's got the advantage of the overspeed here then as well. won't quite have the room to make a move into 130R, or will he? Here we go then, nearly side by side, nearly very close indeed. Will he set something up in towards the chicane? Troncoso, Kokeman knows that, goes defensive, doesn't allow the American to have an opportunity into that chicane. Sensible driving there from both of them, but if he gets a good exit out of here in that Lamborghini, this could be a very nice opportunity here for the Troncoso to find his way through.
That was a clever bit of defending there when he knew that he was going to be slow, but just sort of park the car in the middle of the track and said, well, if you want it, you've got to try and find your way by. And that was it. Same down here as we go towards T1 there. Usually, you know, the Lambo V10 is the engine everyone's talking about, but all I can hear is groceries. We get a little bit sideways there. Troncoso taking a little bit too much speed to the corners. Mid-engine cars, they're on a little bit of a knife edge going through some of these corners. They're a little bit slippy at the rear because all the weight is back there. As soon as you start rotating it don't stop. You've got to be really careful.
See what's going to happen then with this battle for 5th place, meanwhile, between Inestrosa and Takuma Miyazono. On lap 5 out of 15 we are, so just over 9.5 laps remaining here of World 1 of the World Series. Here then is Kokeman, who just managed to put a tiny bit of daylight between himself and Troncoso. Meanwhile, at the front, Valerio Gallo breathing a sigh of relief. He's now got a 1.3 second buffer between himself and Kokeman, so that's good for him because he's now out of that slipstream range we were talking about just a lap or so ago. Meanwhile, here is Miyazono right up the rear wing of Inestrosa. In towards the hairpin they go. He's not going to be close enough to make a move, but he might be thinking about something perhaps a little bit later on in the lap if he can get a good run out of here and into the smooth curve. But an exit like that out of the hairpin to help him.
That Subaru doesn't really grunt, does it? It's just hanging on in the corners, but you can see even in the toe, it's not really gaining any ground. Only until we get right at the end of this sort of long curve to the right here coming into Spoon do we actually get any kind of momentum from that Subaru. Still going strong though as we come now round onto the back straight again, nice and close through the mid corner, but then just falls away on that initial acceleration. Doesn't quite have that same grunt as the flat 6 in front of it. As we return to Gallo at the front of the field. Oh, he's on the curve. Oh, he's round. So, 360, 720 nearly, and almost collects Troncoso as well. And, oh, you can see the frustration there in his face as he tries to get. Oh, Nato as well as he comes in. So, oh my word, what happened there?
Goodness me, Gallo looks like he just got a little bit too wide. He's going to write this lap off, and understandably so, going to come in for the medium common of tyres a couple of laps too soon, just cut his losses, and I'm not surprised there at all. Miyazono also opting to come into the pit lane, likewise Donovan Parker in the Volkswagen, but now Kokeman leads the way and he's got Troncoso very close behind, so that has changed the complexion of this race at the start of lap number 6, so it's now advantage Kokeman and Troncoso. This is going to be very exciting indeed between these drivers. And of course, there's a difference in strategy to come into play here as well. The likes of Miyazono and Parker now going on to the softer compound of tyres, so they're going to be quicker in the mid to closing stages of this race compared to the likes of the other drivers who have started on the soft tyre and will now be on the mediums. But Valerio Gallo comes out ahead of Takuma Miyazono, now down in 10th place. Goodness me, how the tables turn.
How the turntables.
I was going for that one, yeah.
We have a driver cam on Gallo too. He looks flustered. I'm not surprised really, but the race continues regardless of what happens to Valerio Gallo, and Kokeman and Troncoso now are basically our two that are in it to win it, as we are with Troncoso as we come around this long right-hander. Of course, interestingly, I would have thought Inestrosa would have pitted by now, given that he's the lead medium runner. We've seen some people come into the pits as Miyazono just chucks one up the inside of Valerio Gallo. That's the tyre advantage there, Tom. Easier to get by on the brakes, a lot more grip on the braking and on traction and acceleration, so that was really just a matter of time.
Nicely done there for Skipper Miyazono. Bit of clear track in front of him now as well, which will be a welcome sight, I am sure. Meanwhile, down back straight we go in towards 130R. The disadvantage there actually for Skipper Miyazono, just while we think about it, is of course that Subaru does not have that straight line speed, and now he doesn't have the advantage of the slipstream. It was their Achilles heel throughout 2020. Seems to be exactly the same for them in 2021 as well. So through into the final series of corners we go, on to start another lap. Now the crucial question is, when are these drivers going to pit? Is Troncoso perhaps going to try and dart in maybe on the next lap, and maybe Kokeman will carry on and try and get a bit of an undercut?
Look at the straight line speed difference. Does he go for the pass? No, he doesn't. I thought he might have a go there. He had a bit of an overshot, but I think what will happen is they're going to just try and run this tyre as long as possible, as they always do. So here we are, more people pitting, and this time Dan Gallinas throws it in the Porsche. He was our lead medium runner. He's one to watch. We're going to see now the alternative strategy. Of course, where he comes out compared to Gallo will be very interesting, because Gallo did have that spin. Let's see if Miyazono goes up ahead. So, okay, Miyazono there pulled a bit of a blinder. He's ahead of Inestrosa and Valerio Gallo. So Miyazono there definitely getting that pit strategy correct, but now it's going to be a matter of whether that soft tyre is going to hang on for what is half the race. We know he likes to go on the soft tyre fairly early, usually manage it, but Suzuka is a bit of a tyre killer, especially this first sector.
Exactly that, yeah. Inestrosa's got the advantage. He's got a couple of laps fresher tyres. He's got Gallo in front of him, who's on a medium compound, and as you said, Jimmy, Miyazono, of course, on a couple of laps older, so his tyres towards the end of the race are going to be very second-hand indeed. That tyre multiplier, of course, at times 4 here as well, so 1 lap is the equivalent of 4 at Suzuka, just to remind you, and that's, well, 4 laps extra around the S-bend is not going to do your front tyres much good.
No, definitely those front tyres will be screaming towards the end of the race, especially in something front-engine rear-wheel drive, as that Subaru is. So, Ruben Estrada on board in the Porsche, getting a good view of the back of the NSX here, and you can see now what the draft does here as we get to just a little bit closer to the rear wing of Valerio Gallo in front. Now, will we dart to the inside, make the move? No, we don't. We wait. I would like to see. He actually then thought about making a move at the end there. I think we'll probably see now is Inestrosa will just sort of get a nice exit out of his left hand. They're coming to the back straight, just give it a run through. I don't think Gallo's going to fight it too much. He's on a tyre disadvantage here. He knows he's going a bit backwards. So let's see what happens. Inestrosa gets into the back, has to go to the outside as Gallo actually defends the inside. But he's just going to drive by in that Porsche. Has the run. Past he goes up into 8th.
Hazard's on as well to say thanks very much as he comes into 130R. Peace of mind there for Angelo Inestrosa. Gallo tries to fight back, has a little bit of a sneaky look in towards the chicane, but isn't quite able to make it stick as Carrazza and Rubelar come into the pit lane from their medium tyres onto the soft for the second half then of this race. Meanwhile, the leaders, Kokeman, Troncoso, Nato, now continue on. Lee there in 4th place is out of position really because he's still on the medium tyres. He's opted to go a little bit longer and have fresher soft tyres on lower fuel towards the end of this one. He's got to try something different. He was right at the back of the field.
Carrazza just shaking his head in the pit lane there, so he's not happy about his race to go. Not surprised, look at him, dead last. So obviously not going the way of the Brazilian. We know he's faster than this as well, so obviously something's gone wrong for him somewhere. But big frustration there for Adriano Carrazza. Miyazono though, looking quick right now, he's the lead car of the cars that have pitted. You can see that little P column there on the right hand side. If there's a 1 in it, then yeah, maybe a better choice of words there. If there's a 1 in it, they've pitted. If not, they haven't. So right now, the people who have not to pit, Kokeman, Troncoso, Nato and Lee, who I think really is out.
Yeah, absolutely. He's very much out of position there. Is Alex Lee. So let's see what is going to happen then between our top two, Kokeman and Troncoso. That gap has now increased to up to 0.8 of a second between these drivers. Vincenzo Nato there in 3rd place, 5.3 seconds back. So these two have just been able to run their own race. Nato, of course, was caught up in the drama with Valerio Gallo. There was contact, of course, between those two going into that final chicane, which would certainly have cost the Brazilian driver time. Down back straight in towards 130R. Now, if you're Kokeman, what's going through your mind at this stage? You've got the lead. It's only a smaller gap that you've got, though. Are you going to have to try anything bold to hold on to that lead, or do you just need to carry on doing what you're doing?
You're probably thinking, don't do a Gallo. Don't get too wide in that corner exit there and pick up on the Astra and spin, because when you're leading, it's all really just about hitting your marks. And interestingly, Troncoso's coming to the pits earlier than Kokeman, so that Undercut does kind of work in this. That soft compound tyre at this stage, I think probably fair to say, going to be a bit slower than the new medium.
Let's see what happens there. Nato also into the pit lane there as well. Fuel not going to be too much of a concern for these drivers. Troncoso comes up the pit lane. Where's he going to come out though? Right in clear air. That's perfect for Troncoso. Exactly what he needed, but he did cross the white line there. I wonder whether the stewards are going to be having a little look at that, because they do, in our World Tour events, have done previously, have said that you can't cross the white line, you must run as you would do in a real world event, and I wonder whether they'll be having a little look at that.
He didn't just cross the white line, he just sent it across it, didn't he? So, yeah, we'll see. Miyazono though, now, whilst Troncoso is in front, of course, on track, Miyazono at this point will have the tyre advantage over the Lamborghini in front of him. So we'll just see if anything can be made of that. Here's Lucas Bonelli. He's with Vinny Nato in front. Of course, poor Vinny, still suffering from that first lap shuffle. So much so that he's still behind Valerio Gallo, who literally was doing skateboard tricks out of 130R. So it's not going well for the Brazilian.
I can see his driver cam at the moment from where our commentary position is. He is not looking like a happy bunny at all. Now he's about to get done over by Lucas Bonelli. His fellow countrymen, side by side, they go in towards the hairpin. The Mercedes on the inside, the Audi on the outside, and now it's from bad to worse there for Vincenzo Nato as Lucas Bonelli promotes himself up to P6.
One of the things really is I wouldn't want to have a driver cam with me, he says as a streamer, because people could see your reactions. Usually he's sitting there, he looks a bit defeated, doesn't he?
That's you every stream, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, figuratively and literally, yeah, usually. So now I'm interested to see if Kokeman's at the end of his lap. He's got to be shortly. So he's coming through the last chicane at the moment. Let's keep an eye on the track map, see what he does. It looks like he's bearing to the right slightly, so I think he has to respond now. Yeah, in he comes.
I was just having a look at sector times as well, and certainly Troncoso was the quicker of the two drivers because his tyres were a little bit fresher. So let's see what it means when he returns out the pit lane. Through the final chicane we go, into the pits meanwhile for Ryota Kokeman, onto the medium combat of tyre, but the crucial question is, where is he going to merge in relation to Manuel Troncoso? Out of the pit lane he comes. Where is the Lamborghini driver? He's going to be very close, but I don't think quite close enough, but he's going to have the overspeed into the first corner. It's going to be tight between the two, but Kokeman, by a whisker, retains the race lead.
Oh, and Troncoso would have heard that rotary start up in the pit lane and thought, oh bother, there he goes. So, and just like that, the Lamborghini driver is back where he started, back behind the Mazda Vision. Yeah, you can see, as Tom points out, that trying to get some heat into those tyres in a race situation, you have to really scrub them through there, because a cold tyre just doesn't have the same grip as a warm one. So having to warm them up whilst defending is always a little bit of a challenge. Here's Angel Inestrosa and Takuma Miyazono. Both these guys on the soft compounded tyre, and they are charging. They're only now a second off the top two, and they will be quicker for the next couple of laps until those tyres fall off a little bit. So we've gone from a two-way scrap to the lead through a four-way scrap. This is going to be an amazing last few laps.
There's 5 laps to remain, and it is going to be very exciting, as you say. So 4 drivers scrapping for the lead, 2 on fresher medium combat of tyres, certainly, but they're going to be slower. Look at how close the closing speed was between Inestrosa and Miyazono there. So Miyazono, despite a really average qualifying for his standards down in P6 or whatever it was, he is now in the pound seat for the race victory if it stays as it is. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. There's a bit of daylight between themselves and Troncoso and Kokeman in front, so it's kind of 2 by 2 as it stands at the moment. However, there is time for them to get themselves onto the back of these 2 drivers, and what Miyazono and Inestrosa need to do here is not squabble too much amongst one another, try and kind of work together to close that gap down. But Inestrosa is going to try for the podium position. Side by side they go into 130R. The Porsche is now ahead. Inestrosa, the Chilean, is into 3rd place. Is Miyazono going to retaliate into the chicane? Has a bit of a little look, but doesn't quite think about making the move.
Yeah, basically now it's just right, when do we go for it? Because you say about working together, but at some point that goes out the window, and I'm wondering when that point is going to be. So there are our first 4 cars all in frame. The second group slightly behind the first group. In our mirrors there, look at the bottom right corner of the screen, full of Subaru. And same for Ryota Kokeman in front. That Lamborghini is a little bit closer than it was before, and I think that's got it's got a bit better cornering speed, that Lambo. Isn't that mid-corner, that mid-engine layout there, just that better rotation at the midpoint of the corner, I think, than the car in front. But it just seems that on traction zones, that's where the Mazda's putting away a little bit. Here is Inestrosa coming through the S's, again having just to wrestle the car through there, but you can see just as the gap visually coming down as they go through the corner, those soft tyres.
It's interesting you talk about engine and car layouts as well, because we've got 2 front-engine rear-drive cars and 2 mid-engine rear-drive cars in here. It's interesting the point you make about the cars being easier to rotate, because that's certainly the case, but they're prone to a bit more snap oversteer, as we've seen with Troncoso. He's been yeah, exactly. They've been sideways quite a lot over the course of this race, so keen to see what that will mean once the tyres go out of their maximum operating window. So now, look, that gap is closer than it's ever been before. 4 drivers running nose to tail, 3.5 laps remaining here at Suzuka, and it's anybody's guess as to who's going to take the win in round 1 of the World Series here.
Yeah, all aboard the rotary train here at Suzuka. Your conductor, Ryota Kokeman at the top, leading Troncoso, leading Inestrosa, leading Miyazono. 1, 2, 3, 4, all in your frame, coming now down the back straight. Inestrosa in the draft for Lamborghini in front now. Inestrosa on that soft compounded tyres. Now better cornering, better braking, better traction. Where's he going to use that? Let's see, coming through this left-hander. Is it flat for Inestrosa? No, it's a big lift through there and a downshift, but look at the difference in cornering speed. He's gaining on the cars in front, not quite close enough. Looks like he has to go for a late lunge there. He was almost caught out by the Lamborghini being so slow into there. That's going to actually open it up now to attack from Miyazono behind, but we know that poor little Subaru down the stretch has been hanging on for dear life, so probably not under threat into T1.
Well, here we go then, down that start-finish straight. Miyazono, as you said, that gap is increasing between them. All of these drivers have got the advantage of the slipstream aside from Kokeman in front. Here comes Troncoso having a look into the first turn. Not quite able to make a move stick, and now he's going to have to watch his mirrors. Yes, Ben, that's given a tiny bit of daylight for Ryota Kokeman. Just have a little bit of breathing space, but look at how much more corner speed Troncoso and Inestrosa have got, who are challenging very close behind. And this, of course, is where we saw Inestrosa losing that position on the opening lap, going through the final series of corners, and now he could be ready to take revenge as they come through in towards the Degners. It's only a matter of time, surely, before Inestrosa thinks about making a move, not quite into the Degners. I don't think an opportunity is going to present itself into there, but certainly into the hairpin for the Chilean driver could be the place for him to get himself up into second position. Here we are, riding on board. Takuma Miyazono's got a grandstand seat. Troncoso knows he's going to try and attack Inestrosa. Goes defensive into the hairpin, puts him on the back foot. Here comes Miyazono with a send down the inside. That's a late move there from the Japanese driver. He runs side by side with Inestrosa in towards the right-hander and doesn't quite able to make the move stick, and now it sits as it was as they come in towards the spoon curve.
He gave it back, Tom. I think he knew the contact was a little bit cheeky. Short shifted that and Inestrosa back through, so nice sportsmanlike behaviour there from our triple world champion. Riding on board, still there with that Subaru. And Troncoso, he set that all up himself for the S's. He was too fast for the S's, and that basically disturbed his rhythm all the way down to the hairpin. It just shows you how quick and competitive this is here in this series. One mistake and you just open yourself up to attack. We're still riding with Takuma Miyazono there as the front two are about as touch as they have been so far. Will the Lamborghini go for a move? Kokeman has to go defensive, and he's going to try and go around the long way around. He does. Troncoso all the way around the outside there of Kokeman, who's forced wide, and Inestrosa wants him through, and Miyazono. So Kokeman loses 3 places in one corner there, and will Inestrosa go for the inside? He does. He goes at the inside, coming down a T1. Troncoso there, and he lets him by. That's interesting. So I think that he can't compete with him right now, and Inestrosa, that's worked out well for him, hasn't it?
Yeah, that Porsche has always been quick in a straight line, and Kokeman is really wide for that first series of corners, but he's able to hold the outside line and get ahead of Takuma Miyazono. That straight line speed disadvantage is really hampering Subaru here, because it's just not enough for them to be able to hang on. The hazards flashing there for Ryota Kokeman as they go through into the S-Bends there. Riding on board, we are here with Takuma Miyazono, so he now knows that he's got to make up his time through these corners. He's got to have more grip if he's going to try and challenge for the podium, and he's now at a position whilst Inestrosa is of course on the soft combat of tyre, and he's going to have the time and the place to be able to pull away from the two mediums of Troncoso and Kokeman here.
I love the mental capacity of these guys. Flashing out is basically a bit like saying, oh thanks, or like, hey, let's do something, let's work together. Whilst they're just, absolutely sending these cars round at world record pace. It's amazing how good these guys are in the game. You expect it, but it's always a bit of a sight to behold. Look again, this must be so frustrating for Miyazono. He has the pace to be in the lead part of the car, the pack, but the car, whilst it's amazing in the corners, he just can't quite use it. He's stuck behind somebody else. Here we are, Kokeman in front in that rotary. He's just going to pull away from down the straight, and his hands in his face to Angel Inestrosa.
Well, down the back straight we go, in towards 130R once more for the 13th time out of 15, and there we are. There is the straight line speed disadvantage. Miyazono is absolutely Harry Flatters at the moment and has not got the opportunity to find his way through. Bit of a wiggle there going through 130R for the race leader of Inestrosa and also for Kokeman there, but look at how good Miyazono is on the brakes. Despite the straight line speed disadvantage, he's just able to make it up, and well, that could be a very promising prospect for him coming into the closing stages here. Maybe that's where he'll make up his time on the brakes into the hairpin.
Possibly, we'll see. Penultimate lap now, as this is the time where you kind of have to show your hand. What can you do? Miyazono rapidly running out of time. We come through the S's now, and as you said before, Tom, it's very much one a time through here, unless you've got a big tyre advantage, which they won't now. Those soft and mediums will be feeling quite similar at this point. The soft have definitely worn down. And we're just seeing how much Miyazono is having to drive to the car in front, having to wait. Come through his right hand, and now set yourself up very nicely for this Dunlop curve. Chuck the car to the inside, let it sit, and then heavy on the throttle. Very, very easy to run wide there, catch a bit of grass, and pick yourself out on the wall. But of course, none of these guys do that. They're far better than we are at home. Here is Troncoso. Still has a chance here. He is a little bit slow on that medium compound tyre, but definitely not out, and not that much slower.
Look at that wiggle there from Takuma Miyazono coming through the second gate. He's really, really on the ragged edge as they come in towards that hairpin, and no moves being made between these drivers, so there's going to be one opportunity for them to find their way through on on the next lap then, and let's see whether that is going to be the opportunity for them to be able to do so. So Troncoso sitting there in second position on the medium compound of tyre, not being challenged by Ryota Kokubun, not able to challenge Angel Enestrosa, kind of a bit sort of in no man's land here really, just needs to hold on, drive his race, and second would be a very welcome result.
I think so. I mean, obviously, as a driver, you never really want to settle for second place or anything like that. You want to just try and always think of the lead. I mean, why turn up for the race otherwise, you know? But at some point, you do have to be realistic and go, well, unless something happens here, there's not much I can really do. But that won't mean he won't stop trying. You see here, come through 130. Yeah, he has the run. Maybe he's just waiting for maybe a London to the last lap. He knows he can't quite overtake here, so he's going to just sit up behind the Porsche, try and be as close as he can on traction there coming through this last one. You can see just how much more grit and more confidence in Enestrosa has in that Porsche as he now come on to the last lap. And Miyazono, he must now be thinking, right, I've got to go for a move at some point here. He's in that draft coming down the straight, but there's nothing he can do. He's just not getting any closer. This must be so frustrating to Miyazono, but at the same time, it's great car placing by Ryota Kokubun to put him in that position. Troncoso a little bit wide ahead of him there, but not enough to allow Kokubun to get any closer. So really now, it's all or nothing. Last lap, do or die.
Through the right-hander they go, and then into the left, very close indeed to Takuma Miyazono. Needs to make up that time on the brakes. Look at Kokubun though, he's got a good run on Troncoso, who's been a bit out of sorts in these first few corners, and that's put him on the back foot. Look at that slide he had going through there as well. He's just looking a bit on edge here.
He is really getting the most he can out of those medium Michelin tyres. They're definitely worn down. They're still working well, but he's having to really hustle it, and it's great to watch. Here is Ryota Kokubun now. He has definitely closed up, hasn't he, Tom? Right on the rear wing now of Troncoso. Will he go for a move into the head? One of the last chances to have a slip. Will he have a go? No, he doesn't. Decides to wait for now. He might try and move into spoon using the draft.
Sensible there from Manuel Troncoso and also Ryota Kokubun, just to keep things on the straight and narrow to not lose too much time and possibly allow the opportunity that Takuma Miyazono has been looking for. So through the long right-hander, then they're going to flick it left into spoon, and it's going to be down the back straight and into 130R before the chicane, where surely we're going to see the opportunities presenting themselves. Angel Enestrosa, meanwhile, has been able to pull out an 0.8 of a second advantage on this final lap. That is the biggest that gap has been throughout the entirety of these last couple of laps, and he surely has got this one sewn up. So it's all about the battle then for second position. Down the back straight we go, in towards 130R. Enestrosa will lead the field through, followed by Troncoso, followed by Ryota Kokubun. Then in towards the chicane we go. Troncoso onto the curve, onto the outside, and spins it round. That's a disaster for Manuel Troncoso. He spins it out of second place, goes tumbling down the order, handed on a plate to Ryota Kokubun then. So it's Angel Enestrosa who wins round one of the 2021 Manufacturers World Series, ahead of Kokubun, ahead of Miyazono. Two Japanese drivers on the podium, and Manuel Troncoso then will come over the line down in P6. What a disaster for the American.
Talk about being bitten there. That was a combination of a worn tyre, of mid-engine there. He looks absolutely distraught. And speaking of distraught as well, Gallo throwing his gloves across the room, straight out of the chair. Tensions. People are getting a little bit frustrated here, but I tell you who won't be frustrated. Angel Enestrosa. What a race from the Porsche driver.
Oh, well, I think we've just about gotten our breath back from then. So Angel Enestrosa for Team Porsche takes the win in round one of the World Series, ahead of Mazda's Ryota Kokubun and Subaru's Takuma Miyazono. Lucas Bonelli for Mercedes inside the top four, and Toshiro Kato, quite race he had, but finished in P5 for Ford.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be happy with that, but well, fifth, that's nice. And of course, Troncoso, sixth there. Gallo ninth, two mid-engine cars, really struggling with that 130R there. And of course, well, they both know the pace is there, but pace doesn't always mean results.
Exactly. What about Adriano Carrazza down in 7th place for Toyota? I mean, they are having a difficult start to the year by no stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, definitely. He looked upset earlier on driver cam. Probably a bit happy with 7th place, but of course we know he's better than that. So, and he'll know that too.
Yeah, you can see the rest of the order on your screen at the moment as that completes the top 12. Let's have a look, shall we, and see what it means for the points standings then for the Manufacturer Series after round one. Of course, only the top three teams score points. So it's Team Porsche with 3 points, Team Mazda with 2 points, Team Subaru with 1 point in third place. The rest of the teams out of the 12 not able to get off of the board. So a welcome start there for Porsche, Mazda and Subaru, but a lot of work to do for everybody else.
Fantastic race there by Angel Enestrosa representing Team Porsche. And let's hear from the man himself now. Angel, how are you feeling after that?
I couldn't be happier. Actually, it's the first race, and to win is the best thing that can happen. So yeah, obviously happy.
Towards the end of the race anyway, there was the kind of chain of cars. You were waiting for your moment. How did you know it was the right moment to, you know, go for that overtake and push forward?
Well, actually, you have to wait. You have to watch what's happening ahead of you. So I saw that the Lambo guy and the Mazda guy were battling at the chicane. So I just take the opportunity to overtake them and just that was magic. I think I don't know how to call it, but anyway, it worked, and yeah, happy for the result.
I suppose sometimes the gambles and the risks pay off. You know, you take like a quick kind of risky move and you can win, and other times, you know, it just depends. It's tricky. You've got to understand your own driving as well as everyone else's.
I knew that I had better tires, so obviously if they were battling ahead of me, I knew that I could exit the corner much more faster than them. So I tried to take advantage of that, and well, managed to make the overtake. That was the main thing.
Well, that is the main thing, definitely. And of course, with this format at the moment, you know, you're moving forward with 3 points for Team Porsche. Like, how does that make you feel?
Well, it's the best start that we could have got. So obviously I'm focused, and the whole team is focused to get good results on every race, and to carry those 3 points that we got here through the entire year. So hopefully we can get much more better results.
It's a little bit now. You've set the bar really high for all of your teammates. You'll be like, well, guys, I've done my best. How about you?
I know they will do their best. So yeah.
I'm just teasing. Well, look, you know, congratulations on winning. That's incredible stuff. And hopefully we'll see more from you and the guys moving forward. And, yeah, so let's check in now with Tom and Jimmy, now that they've had a little bit of time to kind of really let all of that race soak in.
I mean, that was quite some race, wasn't it, JB? That was phenomenal. What a way to start the year.
Well, that's what I would hope. Start strong, continue. If it's all like this, I'm going to have a very easy job this year, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen over the course of this year. Let's have a look, showing some highlights, though, of the first round of the World Series in 2021. So away from the lights, of course, it was Ryota Kokubun who led the field. All got very interesting early doors, though, because Valerio Gallo took over at the front.
And then, a couple of laps later, spun it on the exit of 130R. It was an absolute disaster for the Italian, put him down in the 9th position and behind Angel Nestroza.
Yeah, meanwhile, then you can see Angel Nestroza making some good gains in towards the mid-stage of the race, siding past Takuma Miyazono in towards 130R. All got a little bit of action-packed, though, for the race lead, with Ryota Kokubun going toe-to-toe with Manuel Troncoso. Angel Nestroza fancying a slice of the pie there as well, as they came down the start-finish straight through into the race lead ahead of Troncoso, and it all went wrong for Troncoso on that final lap as well, spinning through 130R, effectively handing everything back to Angel Nestroza, Ryota Kokubun, and then, of course, the final podium finisher of Takuma Miyazono. What a great race.
Yeah, I mean, like, that was action-packed right to the end. Got to feel a little bit, though, for Ryota Kokubun there. He did such a good job for the entire race and pretty much just got shuffled right at the end. Off you go, mate, and that was him down to 3rd place, so there you go.
Yeah, let's remind ourselves, shall we, of those results from race 1 for World Series 1 then. So you can see Angel Nestroza for Team Porsche takes the spoils ahead of Mazda's Ryota Kokubun, and Takuma Miyazono for Team Subaru rounding out the podium.
Thanks, guys. Now, before we switch to Nations Cup action, some very exciting news emerged last month that the FIA and Gran Turismo have been invited to be part of the first ever Olympic virtual series. Qualifying took place last month, but I can reveal to you that you can tune in to watch all of the action of the Olympic Virtual Series motorsport event on Olympic Day, which is the 23rd of June. Seriously, that's so exciting. That's some of the best Gran Turismo news ever, and I'm trying to keep it together, but that's pretty cool. And it's truly amazing as well to think that one of today's competitors could end up as an Olympic Virtual Series winner. Not long to wait for that, but now it's time for the Nations Cup. Last year, there was just a hair's this breadth between Japan's Takuma Miyazono and Valerio Gallo from Italy. Gallo will be desperate to perform well in this race after what's just happened in the Manufacturers Series. I literally can't wait for these two titans of Gran Turismo to lock horns once again in the Nations Cup.
For me, a rival is a player that tries to understand your thinking, your movements. In that case, I know that it's going to be a battle.
ライバルというのは、自分の邪魔というような存在では決してなくて、やっぱり自分の何ですかね、モチベーションを高めてくれるような存在ですし、お互いをこう何ですかね、本当にいい影響を与えられるような、ものなので、本当に貴重な存在だなというふうに思います。
The point of climax was surely the last race where I made my pole position. I also won the final race, which is the most important race for me. Also against guys like Miyazono.
Valerio Gallo, what a race! He's driven to perfection and he wins the grand final, but it's not enough. Takuma Miyazono is the 2020 World Champion in the Nations Cup.
バレリオに勝ってこうネーションズカップの、チャンピオンになれたっていうのは、やっぱりこうチャンピオンはチャンピオンであるんですけど、自分の中ではシドニーでも優勝の3ポイントっていう部分が非常に大きかったなっていうふうに思いますし、あれがなければバレリオがチャンピオンになっていたので、そういった意味では、自分は全然まだまだチャレンジャーの立場ですし、少しでもバレリオに追いつけるように頑張っていきたいです。
This season, I feel less pressure. I know what to do. About our rivalry with Miyazono will keep going on. Will surely be some more epic battle.
私は、自分に対して、これからも今のような速さであったり、あとは、実力っていう部分を維持し続けることであったり、あとはこれからもっともっと速くなれるっていうところに、すごい今期待しています。
I will just believe in myself as I did in 2020, but I will surely try to hold up with Miyazono, but also to try to become the world champion. The last World Finals was just a taste of what's going to happen next.
I could not pick a winner out of Miyazono, Gallo, or any of the other competitors. But let me tell you something I do know. The car that they'll be driving in this Nations Cup race is, drumroll please, the Mazda RX Vision GT3 concept. Oof, it's a beaut. Tom and Jimmy, what's this going to mean to our drivers?
So then, the Mazda RX Vision Gran Turismo car for these Nations Cup boys. I mean, that's got to be an exciting prospect, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, awesome machine. I mean, I'm going to sit here and do what I always do, apparently, Tom, is talk about how much I love the rotary engine, the sound of this thing. Good, come on. Amazing
every
noise.
Single time. If I had £1 for every time you'd gone on about these flipping rotary wankel engines, I'd be able to get a wankel engine and throw it at you.
I don't think so, mate. You've seen the prices for these things recently. But yeah, I mean, these cars, being its rotary, of course, that very unique engine, very peaky, lots of power right at the very top. And it's in Group 3 trim, so we have a little bit of downforce to play with, but it's not infinite. So if you're taking the mick, you might end up having a spin or two.
And it's kind of spec racing, this, isn't it? Now we've got all the drivers competing in the same car, so that's got to make it really close, especially with the slipstream, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some drivers are a bit better in certain cars. Some people like those sort of GT-style cars. Some people like downforce. So it'll be interesting which cars adapt the best and which drivers adapt the best.
Certainly will. Anyway, the drivers are out on track for qualifying then. Let's see how they get on. Monza then is the host of the Nations Cup race. And let's take a closer look at the circuit. Based in Italy then, well, it doesn't really need much of an introduction. 5.8 kilometres, just under. It is full of long straights. A few chicanes in there, the Rettifilio, the Curva Grande, the Della Roggia, Variante Ascari, Parabolica. It's wonderful, isn't it? Looking forward to a bit of this, Jimmy.
Yeah, I reckon so. They call this place a temple of speed. You know why? Because these guys will be hitting 175, 180 mile an hour about 3 times on this lap. So definitely a place if you're a bit of a speed freak, and also big heavy stopping zones means lots of overtaking. Single lap qualifying though is a kind of new format we've been trialling this year, and it's going very well so far, which means you get one corner wrong on any of the 11 on circuit, you're going to be starting quite down towards the back.
You can see that racing hard, medium and soft tyres are available to the drivers. They must must drive on each of those compounds throughout the 17-lap race. Now, crucially, a standing start here for our drivers as well, with a false start check. So that means basically they've got to hold it on the brake and make sure they don't jump the start, otherwise they will receive a penalty. That's going to be exciting, so let's head over to qualifying, shall we, and see what happens for the grid. Drivers in the pit lane then, ready for qualifying ahead of round 1 of the Nations Cup World Series in 2021. Single lap qualifying for our drivers as well. They're going to be split into 2 groups of 7 drivers as they head out onto the Temple of Speed here at Monza then. So Adam Tapai is the first driver to head out, the Hungarian driver. And Jimmy, I think he's going to be hoping for a bit more consistency this year.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, he's been quick in previous series and previous races, but again, never really at the sharp ends. But definitely still one to watch out for, of course. He's not the only Hungarian here, but we'll get to him a bit later on. Behind him, out on circuits, Angel Inestrosa. What a race he just had.
Here is Angel out on track, the Chilean driver. Keen to see what he's going to be able to do behind the wheel of a very different machine compared to the Porsche that he was piloting just a few moments ago. Then we move on to Baptiste Beauvoir, again a driver who we hold in very high esteem here, and that's as a result of his performances up and down the World Tour events that we've had over the last couple of years.
See that? 2020 EMEA regional champion. But since then, not much else.
Yeah, he's going to be hoping for a turn in fortune for this year. What about Patrick Blajan then, the Hungarian driver? Again, he has won World Tour events previously. He's won races. We know he can fight at the sharp end, but he just needs to be consistent, doesn't he?
Yeah, race winning potential, but not at the moment, it seems. And behind him, first of our 2 Brazilian drivers, Adriano Carazza, someone who had a bit of a middling time at Suzuka for Team Toyota, but again here in the Mazda RX Vision, always fast, always aggressive, always fun to watch.
What about Koke Lopez then? Recently divorced from his esports team, is now going solo, as it were, competing here in the Nations Cup. We've spoken about him being a nearly man. He's got onto the podium, but we just need him to make that step forward to the top step, don't we?
Yeah, he'll be there, no doubt. And then last but certainly not least of the first group is the other Brazilian driver, which is Lucas Bonelli. He's in the AMG, out of course in Suzuka, so putting double duty like so many other drivers here. And again, very spectacular to watch, and also in a front-engined rear-wheel drive car, so it'll be fun.
Absolutely.
We're on board now with Adam Bay as we go up the back straight. This is the easy bit down here. Speed your foot down and take the line of equal distance.
Yeah, head towards the old banking, just going underneath it in towards Ascari then. So where's he going to pick his braking point? That'll be interesting to see. Watch. Just after the 100-metre board, into there, flick it left, flick it right. Bit of a confidence lift going through the middle of that corner there, so perhaps not quite as dialed into that car as he'd like to be.
Adriano Carazza, Brazilian driver. We'll keep an eye on him as we go. There he is at the moment on the 35.2. So looking quick at the moment. We're about to get our first time on the board though from Adam Tapai. He's coming around the last corner now. What can the Hungarian driver do? Let's find out.
Let's see. He's going to break the beam now as he comes over the timing line. It's a 146.45, so not a bad lap time there for him. Now, Angel Inestrosa has been relatively quick so far out there on this lap. He's just got the start-finish straight to negotiate, and is it going to be something good for Angel Inestrosa? It's not. He's lost a bit of time, and in fact, no, it is in fact better. I apologise. It's gone just over a tenth of a second faster. They caught me off guard a little bit there. What about Baptiste Beauvoir? He's actually half a second down, and you can see him there currently sitting third, of course, having not set the respective lap time, and it's going to stay third fastest as it goes at the moment, so not anything to write home about at all for him.
Yeah, not a good time at all for Baptiste Beauvoir. He'll be very upset with that. Patrick Blajan, though, not bad for Patrick. There he goes into P2 provisionally. Adriano Carazza slows up, and both of them by a tenth at the moment in the last sector. Will he carry that to the end? He does, by a long way. 3 tenths clear of the field.
Hugely impressive stuff there for Adriano Carazza. Now Koke Lopez, the penultimate driver in the first group, ready to take to the timing line then. It's not been anything lightning fast for Koke Lopez, and as that is reflected on the order as well, goes 5th quickest. Lucas Bonelli, 10th of a second shy. What's he going to be able to do as he breaks the beam? 2nd fastest. So provisional front row. It's a Brazilian at 1-2 then. What do you think about these boys? Mangano versus Gallo, the Italian drivers. Gallo, of course, 2nd in the World Tour events last year, but Mangano we know to be quick.
I'll tell you what, yeah, Mangano, I think he originally was the hot Italian driver on the scene. And then Valerio Gallo appeared, wasn't that quick, and then suddenly got faster and faster and faster, and is now at the point where he's a real contender for pretty much any race he takes part in.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at our next competitor then, who is out on track just behind Giorgio Mangano. Andrew Brooks, the Canadian driver, really quick in the North American Top 16 Superstars last year. That reflects, of course, in the North American Regional Finals that we had as well. Can he bring the business to the big guns?
It's always the question that he's answering. I'm sure we're looking to do that in this race. Behind him, Tomoyoshi Yamanaka. Better driving style. Good for qualifying. Let's see if it pays off, though.
Jose Serrano then, he'll be wanting to put a poor pun in there, cure some good performances. That was dreadful, wasn't it? Anyway, yeah, Jose Serrano, he is going to be an interesting driver out on track in 2021. Let's see what he's going to be able to do, the Spaniard. What about Ryota Kokuben then, of course, our winner from the World Tour in Japan in 2019. The first ever Japanese winner. He's going to have seen what Miyazono did last year and fancy a slice of that pie, I'm sure.
And then Valerio Gallo as well, our second place last year, runner-up in the Nations Cup series, looking to go one better, I'm sure, this year. He's got to do it here first, so let's see what he does at Monza.
And finally, Takuma Miyazono then, our reigning world champion. Here he is, out on track, the 14th and final driver to take to the circuit. Now, he, of course, did not have the best start in terms of qualifying for our Manufacturer Series race a few moments ago. However, Nations Cup, of course, equal machinery for our drivers, could be the opportunity for him to turn the table.
Brooks has been just unreal in pretty much any online series. In the regional series in the Americas, he is almost untouchable. But whenever he comes to one of his live events or does one of the sort of online world events, he just seems to get caught up in stuff a lot, doesn't he?
Jose Serrano there, meanwhile, is just over half a tenth away from the quickest time overall that we've seen in that first sector. But he's picked up a penalty, so that's not good at all. So he's obviously cut the track going through that Della Roggia chicane. Giorgio Mangano's a bad lap time there, though, for him so far as he aims towards the timeline. Where is it going to place him in comparison? It's only 5th fastest, 3.5 tenths of a second of drift. However, Andrew Brooks is on an absolute flyer. He is really quick in the final sector and goes fastest, a 1:46 flat. Andrew Brooks, who takes provisional pole position.
By only 2/1000 of a second. That is so close at the top there. Yamanaka, what can he do? Not very much, I'm afraid. A 46.5. Jose Serrano, unfortunately, really not going to be setting the timing board alight there with his penalty, so almost a second, or a second and a bit off the fastest guys. Kokuben, though, about 3-4 tenths off himself off Brooks, so the Japanese driver's struggling a bit here.
Aiming towards the timeline does Ryota Kokuben. Then I think this will put him inside the top 10, but not by much. As you can see, it's really close there. Goes 7th fastest. Now Valerio Gallo, 600ths of a second away. This could be top 5 for him. Let's see what it means as he comes towards the timeline. 3rd quickest, so he'll head this second row as it stands. But Takuma Miyazono, the reigning world champion, is having a dog's day of it so far. Only 12th fastest at the end of qualifying. That is an absolute shocker for the reigning champ. Qualifying concludes then for the Nations Cup World Series Round 1, and the front row separated by just 0.02 of a second. Andrew Brooks takes first blood this season ahead of Adriano Carrazza. The second row is occupied by Valerio Gallo and Lucas Bonelli. Really close in the mid part of the top 10 there, Jimmy. You can see just less than 1/10 of a second separating about 4 drivers.
It just goes to show how competitive this series is, of course, and that would be a great confidence boost for Andrew Brooks. Again, outside of the regionals, he's never really done anything that special, but here, that's a massive result for him.
And what about the likes of Koke Lopez, Takuma Miyazono, Baptiste Beauvoir? I mean, what a difficult start to the season.
Yeah, especially for Miyazono as well. Of course, he's gone from the high of literally being champion last year to starting 12th position in his first race. That's not going to be good for him.
Well, speaking of the race, it's coming up very shortly. Let's see what's going to happen.
Congratulations to Andrew Brooks, representing Canada, for grabbing pole position for our Nations Cup race, which is coming up shortly. That was another exciting qualifying session. What did the drivers particularly need to look out for, though, on Monza? Tom and Jimmy, tell us all.
Yeah, cheers, Julia. Welcome back over then to the Hollestrator as we get ready to get the Nations Cup racing underway. We're here at the glorious Monza circuit. A track that's a fan and a driver favourite, JB, right?
Well, temple of speed, ain't it? These massive straights, of course, easy for people like me, it's not very good at corners, but also very heavy braking zones, which means it's absolutely rife with overtaking opportunities. Of course, split into 3 sectors here, but I think the one we're going to take the most interest in is the first sector. 2 very heavy braking zones there, Tom.
Yeah, quite right. We've got the Rettifilio chicane and the Della Roggia chicane, both split up by 2 massive long straights. So I think there's going to be plenty of overtaking opportunities for the drivers here.
In fact, we can actually show you what that looks like. We have a bit of footage from 2019 2019, that of Coque Lopez on Jonathan Wong here, coming down towards T1, that first chicane. See Jonathan Wong doing the good move here, defending on the inside line, not making it easy, but Coque Lopez there has the overspeed. And if you do, you can drive it right the way around the outside, and then you'll be on the inside for the left-hander. Take that position away just like Coque did. And
you think it was all over there, but then they go right for the Curva Grande. Lopez able to hold it around the outside, has much more grip under braking into the Della Roggia chicane. He's got track position and he is able to get the place as a result.
Well, basically, if you're good on the brakes here, you're going to do pretty well.
Full sends for the drivers in Nations Cup then, right?
OK, so you've heard the thoughts of Tom and Jimmy about the Monza track, but what are the actual secrets to winning on it? No one's better placed to tell us than 2019 Nations Cup champion Mikel Hizal, who won at Monza twice in that season. Mick's been on the track with Lucas Ordóñez in the first of our new series of Gran Turismo masterclasses.
Hi everyone, I'm Lucas Ordóñez. I'm joining with Mick Hizal, world champion, FIA Gran Turismo Championships. Today we're gonna share some tips in Monza racetrack.
Well, I can try to share my experience here. Yeah, let's try to showcase it as well.
I'm gonna drive the Mazda RX concept car. It's you know, the engine of this car is amazing, right, Mick? I'm sure you agree with me.
Yeah, rotary engine.
Well, you all know that Monza is the temple of speed. To have maximum speed is really fundamental, but what also is really important in this track is to match the braking zone.
As you said, you need to try to brake as late as possible, as Formula 1 drivers such as Lewis Hamilton always do it, like they're braking so late and therefore carrying a lot of time through here. But it's also pretty important to hit the curb on the inside here for the exit, because you can lose a lot of time or gain a lot of time at the exit there.
What about Mick for overtaking? Turn 1, for example, at the start of the race is a really great point for overtaking, and then chicane 2, the second chicane is really another spot for driving overtaking, right?
Yeah, I agree with you there. There are also like some other overtaking opportunities, such as before you approach Ascari or Parabolica, but the risk of overtaking another driver there is that you may get overtaking again on the start-finish straight. So you have to play a little bit smart.
Every braking point you have to smash the brake pedal as hard as you can in every braking zone. So it's really physical, really demanding for the driver, but also mentally, because as I said before, you have to really be spot on the braking points. So you have to be really concentrated, but also really aggressive on power to have the maximum top speed on the straights. Yeah, Mick, I wish you all the best for this season, and let's catch up soon, right?
Thank you. It's also a pleasure of mine.
It was a pleasure, my friend. Hope to see you soon, and hope you enjoy this little chat with Mick Hizal.
Oh, that's how you win at Monza. I would have just been like, hey, drive fast. Yeah. Anyway, thanks to Mikel and to Lucas. And remember that the Gran Turismo YouTube channel has lots more top tips from our best drivers to help you improve. Anyway, I can bear the wait no longer. It's time to go trackside with Tom and Jimmy for the first of this season's Nations Cup races.
Time then for World Series 1, the Nations Cup, to get underway. A standing start here at Monza with Andrew Brooks and Adriano Corazza on the front row. Here is how the grid lines up then. So here is Andrew Brooks, and then alongside him is the Brazilian driver. The second row of the grid. That is headed by the Italian Valerio Gallo. On home soil here at Monza. Can he turn a good start into a good finish with Lucas Bonelli for company? Alongside him, he'll have a big challenge, I'm sure. Angel Nestroza, the winner from the Manufacturer Series race, heads row 3. And he has got Patrick Blajan for company, the Hungarian driver. Next up on the grid, that is Giorgio Mangano. Good fitting inside the top 10. He'll be willing to get away from the clean side of the grid well, with Ryota Kokeban alongside him. Just inside the top 10 is Adam Tapai, the second of the Hungarian drivers, lining up on the grid. For company, he has Tomoyuki Yamanaka. Outside of the top 10 is Koke Lopez. Difficult qualifying session for him. Not, though, as difficult as this man here. Takuma Miyazono, our reigning world champion. He lines up P12. Baptiste Beauvoir in 13th position, our EMEA regional champion from last year. He's got Jose Serrano with that penalty, of course, for company. So then, are we ready for World Series 1 to get underway for the Nations Cup? 17 laps ahead of our drivers. What is going to happen when the lights go out? Brooks on the right-hand side, Karatsa on the left. We get ready to go racing then here. The Nations Cup for the FIA Gran Turismo Championships. The tension is in the air. The pressure is on these drivers. Let's see what's going to happen down towards the Retifidio chicane for the first time of asking. Revs are rising. Flyover happens, and we go racing then. World Series 1 is underway. Brooks leads the field away from Karatsa. They're all going to dart into the slipstream, but look at Valerio Gallo on the right-hand side of your picture, as well as Lucas Bonelli on the left-hand side of your picture. Side by side with Karatsa versus Gallo. Down to the first corner. Looks like Brooks has got the whole shot, but it's Karatsa on the inside. Here comes Bonelli. They're all concertinaing up into the right-hand, and they're going to flick it left. There's definite contact into there, and it looks like Bonelli's going to be hung out to dry on the outside. He is. He goes tumbling down the order. There's a penalty being given there for Karatsa, presumably for starting all of that, but he is nearly side by side with Andrew Brooks for the race lead, coming through the Curva Grande as they head towards the Della Roggia. Here comes Valerio Gallo. He's got a grandstand view of it. Side by side we go with Karatsa versus Brooks on the brakes, and Brooks manages to hold on to the lead.
I think the two Brazilians came together, I think, at the first corner there, which is why Bonelli is now nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, Gallo right on the back of Karatsa. He's got that 1 second penalty. He'll have to serve that on the back straight, and that'll just plummet him down the order, because 1 second might not seem like much, but look at that train of cars behind. It's like a shoal of sharks. Lots of sharky boys behind there. You've got to be very careful now as you come up to that penalty zone. Let's see what happens to Karatsa. Down he goes, third place, and fourth place. Yamanaka as well in the background also got a penalty there. So where is Karatsa now? Fifth, sixth?
Nearly 7th, I think. He's going to fall behind Bonelli just about. Yeah, there we go. He's on the soft tyre as well. That's a real dog's dinner of a way to start, because on the soft tyre you want to be trying to make hay while the sun shines, and unfortunately he's fallen right to the back of the group.
Again, we saw something similar happen in the Manufacturer Series. This time it's happened to Karatsa and Bonelli, and it's their fault they're there, really, so not much I can do about that. People who have benefited of that, of course, is Mangano, who's up to 5th place. Back to the front of the field with Valerio Gallo, who's going to have a toe on Andrew Brooks down the straight, and they're already in an interesting scenario. They've got a little bit of a gap to Patrick Blajan behind. There he is, behind Gallo. They're little flashing lights from Valerio, so I'm going to come through, mate. Let's not fight this too much. Let's just work together, and we're probably going to see that now. They're going to be swapping places down the straight very often and just using each other's toe. First pit stops as well, Adam Tapai and Yamanaka coming in. They're both going for that soft tyre, getting off that hard tyre as soon as possible.
Here comes Mangano, here comes Nestroza, here comes Bonelli as well, who's had fancy a bit of a look. Karatsa on the outside, he's going to get the switch back. Oh, there's more contact again at the Retifidio. The two Brazilians still side by side. Bonelli, he's pretty friendly with that gravel trap on the outside of that first chicane, isn't he? Meanwhile, it's Gallo versus Brooks then, who still hold on to the race lead. Paddy Blajan there in 3rd position, not too far adrift either. There's a bit of daylight between themselves and Giorgio Mangano. 1.5 seconds it sits. You would expect that to be the case, because of course the top 3 drivers are on the soft compound of tyre, and if you're new to the FIA GT Championships, the drivers in the Nations Cup, they have 3 compounds: the soft, the medium, the hard. The soft are the fastest, and the hard are the slowest. They must compete on all 3 compounds of tyre for a minimum of 1 lap. So for example, Tapai and Yamanaka, they were on the hards, they've started on those, and they want to get shot of them as soon as possible. Now they're on the softs, and now they can go a little bit quicker.
Yeah, that's part of the racing here. You've got to, 1, be quick on the circuit, and 2, be quick in the pit lane with your strategy. So it's something our drivers have worked out before the race, and we'll now hopefully execute now as we go into into lap 2. Karatsa looking to get by Nestroza on the inside there. Nestroza not too keen to let him by, so he's fighting it a little bit. Has to give the room though, coming out of Ascari onto the curb there. That would have slowed him up a little bit. Probably let Bonelli through as well. Meanwhile, Patrick Blajan, the Hungarian driver, has just homed onto the back of Andrew Brooks in front there. So we come through the parabolica. Great onboard shots here from Patrick Blajan, and he's now going to get the double toe going down towards T1. So here we are on board. Great view there of the exhaust of the RX Vision rotary car as we come down the straight. Patrick Blajan deep in the slipstream of Andrew Brooks, but doesn't seem to be moving out at the moment. Maybe just playing the long game there, Tom.
Yeah, let's see what happens. They're down towards that Retofino. Blajan takes a late lunge, but has a look, doesn't quite make a move going into there. Just being sensible, really, at the moment. They've both got a lot to lose at this stage because the field is too relatively close to one another. Look at Inestrosa there in the middle of Corazza and Benelli, who's really being hung out to dry. Of course, those two drivers, Corazza and Benelli, on the soft combat of tyre. Inestrosa clearly struggling with those mediums. It just doesn't have the pace at the moment.
That's what happens when you start medium tyre. You get swamped by people on soft tyres. Not much you can really do about it. Really, Mangano is one of the best positions. Oh, a penalty! Track limit penalty for Valerio Gallo there. So he took a little bit too much curve coming through the second chicane. He's doing these things. You're trying to really maximise everything. But unfortunately, what that means for him is he's now going to get that 1 second penalty. And that isn't getting off the throttle. That is 1 second of applying the brakes. And around here, I don't have to tell you how terrible that is for your lap time. Applying the brakes coming out of a fast corner onto a long straight like this. You can see that is the difference. He is just being left behind. Just like that, he goes from the lead to a second behind, second place.
It's just about within the slipstream range, which will be the only saving grace there for Valerio Gallo. But that is 2 incidents in 2 races for the Italian driver. And he was pretty seething, as we saw after the first race. He's been pretty angry with things so far now. But let's see what's going to happen then further back. Meanwhile, Angelo Inestrosa there in 6th place with Lucas Benelli. Still for company, of course. Benelli started strongly, but it all went peaked over him at the first couple of corners. He's on the soft combat of tyre. He needs to make hay while the sun shines, get himself past Inestrosa as we run on board with Brooks to complete lap 3.
Patrick Blajan now, of course, who's in second place. He'll now sort of take the role of chaser. He'll be in the slipstream now, up to 160 mile an hour. Getting near to 170 mile an hour before you smash your anchors at the end of this straight. Patrick Blajan's got the run there, but just lets off. There's no point. He's not going to make that lunge. What these guys on the soft tyres are focusing on doing is just getting away. They don't want to be fighting everybody. Miyazono, sorry, Yamaha pitted.
Let's have a look there. Here is Corazza then. Side by side he runs with Giorgio Mangano. On the medium tyre is Mangano. Doesn't really put up much of a fight. No point there really for him because he's just going to lose more than he'll gain. Corazza then sits in P4. Bit of daylight in front of him as well. 3.2 seconds to Valerio Gallo for him to try and close that gap down. That'll be nice for him to have a bit of clear air for once in this race. Doesn't have to worry too much about it. He can just set about his recovery through the field. There is Valerio Gallo. We saw him with that penalty last time around. He now has got some company in front of him. They're still with Paddy Blajan and still with Andrew Brooks in the front of this race. They go under the old banking, heading in towards the Variante Ascari once again. Now, the soft tyres, of course, Jimmy, we're used to seeing them try to stretch this stint out for as long as possible, but
we're going to just show you quickly what happened to Gallo, because he's really quite far inside there. 4 wheels inside, which that's why you got the penalty.
If you're Valerio Gallo, you're leading the race, you've had this penalty. Do you think about trying something different to overhaul the competition?
I mean, not at this point really, because of the toe and the slipstream. But if you're Gallo, you want to just stay with these guys. So you're getting the drive, you get pulled along. If you're pitting on your own, it's slower to drive around here on your own than it is with a partner or 2 partners around here. So he'll basically be dictating his strategy to those in front of him.
And one advantage, of course, for these drivers that are in the slipstream, like Patrick Blajan, like Valerio Gallo, fuel saving. It's a really fuel-heavy track because you're constantly on the throttle at 170 miles an hour. 3 times, as you said, Jimmy, that you're touching that speed around this circuit. And, well, if you're Patrick Blajan and Valerio Gallo, you're in the penalty. If you're Andrew Brooks, he's really going to be hemorrhaging his fuel usage.
Yeah, so that does come into play, of course, and especially when there is refueling. Here is Gallo, again on board. Second last year in the Nations Cup, and he seemed very happy with it, but I bet he would have been a whole lot happier if he went a lot better. And he's always looked like he can do it. He's that guy. I think he's on for something good this year if he can continue that momentum from last year. But of course, it all starts here. It all starts here in the round 1 of our World Series here in the Nations Cup. Right now, just all over the back of Blajan. But I'd say with Valerio Gallo, his downfall seems to be those little mistakes. We saw it in the Manufacturer Series at Honda, where he spun at 130R from what was pretty much a sure thing. We saw it here, the penalty as well. So, you know, maybe it's getting rid of those mistakes, and then we really have someone who is special here.
There are going to be people that are watching this broadcast at the moment, looking down the timing sheet, seeing Takuma Miyazono in 12th place and wondering what on earth has gone wrong for him, because you don't go from being a triple world champion to sitting down in 12th position for no reason. What do you think has gone wrong?
Maybe too many celebrations after last year. on the on the champagne of it, isn't he? I don't know. I mean, you can get out of practice really easily in this, and because of how tight the competition is, let's say you become 2 tenths slower, that is then, you are then down to like 8th or 9th. That's how tight it is. So being at your peak of your game in GT Sport is one of those things that only a few people in the world will ever get to. And when you start to sort of waver a bit from your potential, it really shows in these competitions.
Here we are then on board with Valerio Gallo. Now, I wonder if he's going to have a bit of a lift going down this start-finish straight. Oh, you can see Patrick Blajan's going for a move meanwhile on Andrew Brooks, and Gallo's going to join the party. Side by side they go into the braking zone, into the Retafilio. Blajan's got the inside line. Gallo says, I'll have a bit of that action, thank you very much, but he's going to be hung out to dry on the outside there. But he gets a good exit, amazingly, so he still runs side by side, wing mirror to wing mirror, then with Andrew Brooks. So Brooks is going to lose 2 positions in the space of 2 corners as they go through the right-hander of Curva Grande. So Blajan was the cork in the bottle that started all that off, and Brooks now sits in 3rd.
Brooks is a little bit too kind there. I would have ran him out wide. That's your circuit, that's your bit of track there. He's barely alongside at that point, but yeah, Brooks gave him room and let Gallo sort of get the drive by, but maybe Brooks a little bit too kind there, and it has cost him the place. But I think maybe they've gone, well, actually we're a bit quicker than Andrew Brooks, let's try and break away. But no, I'm sure they'll realise as soon as they're out front, they'll be the one punching the hole in the air, and Brooks would be the one thinking, well, I'm a bit quicker than these guys, maybe I should try and get by, and then so on and so forth. So we'll see what happens.
Certainly will. Down the straight, then out the second Lesmo, under the old banking and in towards the Variante Ascari we go once again. Now is Brooks going to try and retaliate here, or is he just going to opt to save a bit of fuel? Look at Blajan though, now he's been able to get ahead. Just shows how much he was being held up, because he got nearly a second on Valerio Gallo as it stands. Meanwhile, the battle for 4th place still reigns on between Adriano Corazza, Lucas Bonelli, his compatriot, just behind. Bit of a squirrel there through the second half of the Variante Ascari then, and that is going to allow Bonelli to close right up onto the back. Angelo Nostroza has got a good view of all the action in front of him, with Giorgio Mangano in the middle of the 2 Brazilians that are squabbling. Through into the Parabolica we go, and I wonder if Corazza and Bonelli are just trying to work together a little bit at the moment on that soft compound of tyre, both on very similar strategies by the looks of things. So let's see how it all plays out between those 2. Meanwhile, here we are looking at Brooks going down the start-finish straight. Gallo in front of him, but a lift off there. He just wants to sit behind him and save that fuel, I think.
Yeah, possibly at this point. Or he doesn't want to fight anymore. If you notice the gap between Gallo and Blajan up to a second now, that might not sound like much, but it's starting to get to the point where that slipstream might be broken. Corazza's by Mangano now. It's going to be a drag race through Curva Grande. Now Mangano's got the inside here, so he'll have the shorter line towards the chicane, but Corazza will have the overspeed when they come off the corner, so we'll have to see how that looks as they come through here. Mangano still holding the inside line behind him, and Nostroza in the draft as well, so he wants a piece of this. Now, with this midfield battle really starting to hot up here, Mangano, of course, really is a stand-up. He's the only one here on the medium compound tyre, yet he's able to hold off Corazza and Nostroza.
Brilliant driving there from Giorgio Mangano. Did a very, very good job. And as you said, Jimmy, on a completely different strategy on that medium compound of tyre. So clearly those softs are probably getting past their sell-by date, you'd imagine, there for Corazza. And that is why Mangano has been able to hold on to that 5th position as it stands for the last couple of corners, because obviously there's such a differentiation in pace between the softs and the mediums normally until they start to fall off that cliff. So good work there for Giorgio Mangano, sitting at the top of the medium runners as it stands, having not pitted. All the drivers from 1st down to 7th have not made any stops yet. I wonder who is going to be the first to blink as it sits with just over 9 laps remaining.
We'll have to see how that pans out. I'm trying to figure it out myself at the moment, as you can tell by the sound of the cocks whirring. It takes a little while to wind up sometimes. Yeah.
I thought that would be a bang.
That too, mate, that too. Meanwhile, first 3 continue to pull a gap on the rest of the field. Lucas Bonelli, who I was about to say was the next person to stop, has opted to come from the pit lane, as has Adriano Corazza. Interestingly though, divergence in the strategy though for the 2 Brazilian guys. One's going onto the hard tyre, Corazza, and Bonelli going onto the medium tyres.
I really want to talk to you about strategy actually there, Jimmy, as well as we're coming towards the mid-stages of this race. Meanwhile, let's come back to that in a few minutes' time, because there's a battle with Yamanaka Tapai, and on board with Koke Lopez coming down the start-finish straight. In the slipstream here is Lopez. The 2 Brazilians coming into the pit lane. That's really tight with Adriano Corazza. Bonelli is just in front of this trio of cars now as they come down in towards the first chicane then. Yamanaka in the middle, Lopez on the inside of Tapai. He's going to be on the outside then, coming out of the first corner. Really close racing between them. But coming back to strategy, Jimmy, let's talk about the hard tyre. What's the advantage of starting on that?
Let's say, for example, maybe we're starting down the bottom somewhere, and you're just in the draft, you're not really going anywhere. Why not start on the hard tyre, leave it for a bit and see what happens?
It's just such a pace differentiation, isn't there, between the 3 different compound, that's why they try and get off it as soon as they can. I mean, for example, in our World Tour events, and it's something that I'd really like to see returning to these World Series events in the future, is we have a minimum tyre time. You have to run it for, say, 3 or 5 laps or something. And I think that just adds more merit, because otherwise you just see drivers going onto it for 1 lap at the end. And it doesn't spoil it as such, but it then comes down to how much fuel they've got. If they've got to take fuel on board, then the gap can increase, and it can almost spoil what's set to be an exciting last lap.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with that. I'm just having a look and see who's been on what tyre. Both Lopez and Miyazono did 3 laps on the hard compound tyre at the start, so maybe working on some sort of alternate strategy, something to keep an eye on, definitely.
Speaking of keeping an eye, look at Inestrosa right up the rear wing of Giorgio Mangano. We just crossed away from him for a few moments, but that was looking very close indeed. There, though, is Lucas Spinelli, now the lead Brazilian driver. The leader comes into the pit lane, speaking of leaders. That's Patrick Blaja into the pit lane, onto the medium competent tyre. Brooks and Gallo, the top three, following him. Likewise, Inestrosa as well. So all of the top 5 drivers coming in then. Now, where is Blaja going to emerge? He's not going to take any fuel on board at the moment. He's got 53 litres left, doesn't need to worry too much about that. Onto the medium competent tyres. Inestrosa, meanwhile, goes medium to soft. Likewise does Giorgio Mangano there as well. But the top 3 emerge from the pit lane in the same order they came in. They're all onto the mediums now.
Yeah, you won't be needing any fuel in this race, I don't think. I think there's maybe like a mild save during, but you won't need to refuel. So it's just going to be about managing that. So the order stays essentially the same at the front with Blagin, Gallo, Brooks and Benelli. Benelli has actually gained a bit of time back on the lead free. I think he's about a second and a bit back at the moment. So he is catching. Here is Valerio Gallo, of course, on home turf here. I've always said, I asked him whether that equates to anything when you're driving on the home turf, even if it isn't a simulation. He always says, yes, I always feel like I want to do better here because, well, it's where I'm from, even if it is in the virtual world.
Just been having a look at the timing screens, and 2 drivers who didn't necessarily qualify very well, Coco Lopez to Dylan Miyazono, have been setting good lap times over the last couple of laps, good second times, and doing a good job out there on the medium competent tyre. They're now sitting inside the top 10, which is significantly better than they qualified, and they started their race on the hard competent tyres. They owe the soft.
Yeah, I was just saying a second ago they were in the hard tyre for a couple of laps at the start there, so I think really going for that fast finish. Of course, round here is not as important. Here is Yamanaka, Coco Lopez and Miyazono running together on circuit at the moment. And yeah, that is on merit. They're there on merit, so they've gained even now 5 positions apiece or so, just running this alternate strategy. Do you reckon they're in cahoots a bit? Because it always seems to be Coco Lopez and Miyazono running these different strategies that seem to be coming good at the moment. Well, we've still got to see the last part of it play out there, but it seems to be going the right way.
Well, yeah, it looks to be going pretty well there for Lopez and Miyazono. We'll keep a close eye on those 2 because they could be like the proverbial cat after the end of this one. Now, Yamanaka comes into the pit lane and he goes from the softs to the medium competent tyre. Now that promotes Lopez and Miyazono into some clear air between the 2 of them on the same strategy. We hasten to add they've got to change over to the soft tyre before the end of this one. Let's keep an eye on that, see how things develop between them. Meanwhile, at the front, Blaja now less than half a second the gap here between himself and Valerio Gallo. Let's see what's going to happen here between these 2 because they owe the hard compound tyre. They've got to pit before the end of this race. They'll do that, you would imagine, right at the very end of this one, down towards the Della Rosa chicane. If you're Valerio Gallo, what's going through your mind at this particular moment in time?
I'm going to pick my moment. It's basically it. I mean, you've still got 7.5 laps left. Much good in the last lap as well. So all we've got to do is wait and wait for your move. You've only got to be in the lead as you cross the line at the end of the race. Right now, it don't matter. Although, try telling that to these guys when they're out there, they'll be in the lead all the time. But, I mean, Gallo, he has the draft. He is there with Blaschke. He's broken away from Brooks as well. This is ideal. You actually want to be behind at Monza going into the last lap. You get the draft and you can slip slingshot by and have that move made. So I think he's just relaxed. He's trying to keep his mind in the right place, especially after Suzuka as well. We saw how frustrated he was after that. So right now, I think no rush. He knows he's got the ability and the skill to take his time.
And Andrew Brooks has fallen back a little bit of his leading duo now, as it is between Blajan and Gallo. 1.7 seconds the gap sits between the Italian and the Canadian inside the top 3. Is that just, do you think, the lack of pace on these tyres, maybe just not comfortable with the car, something along the lines of that?
May have been that. He may have just made a mistake somewhere, which can happen around here. You have to think of, like, it's 11 corners a lap around here, as Gallo goes very widely. He's just trying to stay out the slipstream, I think, so he can stay full throttle and not fall back into Brooks a little bit. But 11 times 17 is a big number that I can't tell you right now, but you make a mistake on one of those corners, that's it, you're out of that draft and you're all gone. Are you doing the maths? I can see your head thinking about it.
Yeah, that's right. 11 times 7 is 187.
Yeah, so you get 187 attempts to do a corner. You get one of them wrong, and you go down the field. That's what it's like at the zone.
Yeah, oh goodness me, back to the race. Stop doing mental arithmetic. Look at Coque Lopez and Carrazza going side by side into the Retrofidio. Now that's not ideal for Lopez, because when you come out of a pit stop, you want to come out in some clear air. Now Lopez, of course, is on the soft compound of the tyre, likewise Miyazono, but those two stuck in traffic in the form of Yamanaka for Lopez and Carrazza for Miyazono, so that's not ideal at all.
Here comes the send, I reckon. If I were Coque Lopez, I'd be sending this right now. It's sort of half look into the inside. He's going to go for it as well. I was only joking, Coque. There you go. Sends out the inside of Yamanaka. Using that soft tyre, using the extra braking potential it gives him. And now he can go after Adam Depay. And bear in mind, aside from Depay, he is the leading person who has made 2 stops at this point. So if he can get by Depay, Coque Lopez is in a really good position here.
Meanwhile, Valerio Gallo also in a good position there in second place. You can see him just pulling out the slipstream. So Blajan and himself working together. It's all well and good and all fair and war at the moment, but come the final lap, if he stays as it is between these two boys, you guarantee that the gloves are going to come off and the elbows are going to come out between them. Let's see what happens there. I really want to cross back to that battle for 7th position as well, because Adam Depay is sitting at the forefront there, but Coque Lopez 0.3 of a second adrift of those two boys. You can see there is the battle for 5th place between Mangano and Angel Inestrosa. Both those drivers on the soft compound of the tyre. Let's see what they're going to do. Is Inestrosa going to think about a look? They're running into the slipstream. They're on the start-finish straight. Angel Inestrosa with a significant straight line speed advantage thanks to that toe, and moves over into 5th place even before they head into the braking zone for the Retrofidio.
170 mile an hour with the brakes there, and these things it's always mad seeing that sort of speed anywhere. So here he comes, Coque Lopez, and Depay's actually going to defend this. He goes to the inside, so he's going to say, right, if you're going to go by, we're going the long way around, but I think he's got enough overspeed to maybe get by Fuller. No, it's not. The Hungarian driver defends. Coque Lopez late on the brake, sweeps in front of Adam Depay, and that is a statement of intent. It's like, right, okay, this is mine now, let's chase after these other guys. And now he's got a free track ahead of him, which is a good and a bad thing, because he's not going to have a toe anymore, but he's not going to be held up by this train behind. Miyazono as well there on the soft compounder tyre. He's got to do exactly the same thing if he wants to chase after Coque.
This is a shocker for Miyazono, because he's got to find his way through Yamanaka and Depay and then try and close up onto the back of Lopez. It's really costing him very, very dearly here indeed. It could potentially be a battle for the podium, say, for example, that could cost.
Potentially. Definitely at this point. I mean, we're trying to work out all the permutations for pit stops at the moment. It's one of the great things about the commentator.
All the boys in front have got to make another pit stop again.
Yeah, exactly.
Race,
so we've got to find out what the delta is and where they're all going to end up. So Gallo again, let's see what he does. You see the throttle input there? Yeah, lifting on the straight there. Not bothered about passing right now. What he will be doing is monitoring that gap behind to Andrew Brooks, which, by the way, has come down by a few tenths of a second to the point now where Brooks will be back in the draft. Now, Gallo's pulling to the inside here, I think, just to get a slightly quicker line to the line, but purpose is staying out of the draft. Now, the only reason I think that he's doing that is because, one, you're not allowed to really bump draft in these events, so that's a bit of a no-no frowned on by our stewards, and two, maybe just trying to avoid lifting too much down the straight. He wants to stay as close as he can without giving Brooks any sort of draft, but it's not working.
Speaking of Brooks, yeah, he's 3 tenths of a second faster than Blajan Gallo on that last lap. He's the personal best on the lap before. Meanwhile, come back to them in a few moments' time, because here is Miyazono in the slipstream. He needs to dispose of Tomoyuki Yamanaka and Adam Depay before too long. Yamanaka's going for the slipstream on Adam Depay. This is going to be a 3-wide battle down in towards the Retrofidio. Miyazono on the inside, Yamanaka in the middle, Depay on the outside. Who's going to break latest? It's Miyazono. Whoa! Goodness me, that was close into there, wasn't it? But Miyazono gets 2 places in one corner. Yamanaka also ahead of Depay. That is about as close as it gets into that first chicane.
I love watching that thought process though. It's right, I can get Adam here. Oh wait, I can get Yamanaka too. And right to the outside, and just made that stick. And that is why Takuma Miyazono, one of the most fun drivers to watch. Never lets us down there. Great move by our triple world champion. But meanwhile, in front of the field, Blajan Gallo, and now Andrew Brooks too. And Gallo, I think maybe he's had enough at this point. He's starting to have a look at Blajan, not quite going for that move still. Maybe still just trying to get out of the draft. I can't for the life of me figure out why you wouldn't just lift instead. Maybe he's trying to get in his mirrors, make him make a mistake, make him try and spin or something. But otherwise, it's just stay with him. So again, looking to the inside and lifting again. Maybe he wants Brooks to be part of this. I'm not really sure. I can't think of the reason here. My brain can't get around it.
It all the while they're doing this, keep an eye out for Coque Lopez to give Miyazono. We said the race would come to them, and Coque Lopez was a 1:46.387 last time around. Compare that to Blajan, Gallo and Brooks, who are all around the 1:47.6, 1:47.5 markers. They were a second slower than Coque Lopez.
And that was the fastest lap of the race by Coque Lopez there. So he's now just set the fastest lap of the race. He's in pursuit of these guys. Gallo now goes to the outside of Patrick Blajan. I think he's had enough of waiting. So Valerio Gallo goes up into the lead, but they are still fighting. That's to bring Brooks right back into it there. That's a bit of a freebie for Andrew Brooks. That gap now down to 0.4 of a second. He's now right back in the fight for the lead. Gallo up into first. Blajan second now as we come through Curva Grande. 3 cars at the front there. 1 Italian, 1 Hungarian, 1 Canadian, and Gallo going defensive into the second chicane. Blajan thinking, oh, I might have a go at this, then backs out of it once again. So Gallo there putting down a statement of intent. I think now it's that time to go. Now's the time to move.
And this is the thing, we're coming into the closing stages. Just to bear in mind, these guys, they still owe a pit stop in this race, and all the while they're squabbling amongst one another, it's allowing Lopez and Miyazono, for example, to close that gap down. Lopez has got 1.3 seconds owing to Miyazono being stuck in that train of traffic as it was, we saw a few laps ago. So he is now in a very, very promising position. Let's see what's going to happen then as we're coming towards the closing stages. Is Blajan going to retaliate on Valerio Gallo as they come under the old banking and in towards Ascari? Not quite at the moment, but Gallo is now trying to lead from the front, and I think he's going to try and pull the pin if he can, but I just don't think he's got the speed, and of course the other 2 behind haven't got that slipstream, and they can just sit there all day long if they keep it consistent in the corners.
Just looking at Lopez's sectors, he was nearly a second quicker through the first sector alone. That's only a 35-second sector, so Coque Lopez on a charge right now. He has met some traffic though, so that might hold him up slightly. Now Gallo, Blajan, Brooks, when are they going to pit? Are they going to really eke this out to the last lap? Are those medium tyres going to go that far, or are they going to come in early for the hards? In time we'll find out, I'm afraid. Kicking up some dust there. Look at the line of least resistance down towards the first corner. Now, will Blajan come back at Gallo? We've got a great spot here on the rear wing. Blajan is gaining in the draft. Gallo sees that he needs to defend, comes across. Blajan there, kind of very hard. He's not really going for it, is he? He kind of just something, okay, well, if we're going to take this on, I'm going to just stay here and have a better turn in. But it slows them both up. You see they're wiggling, trying to get the power down. Those rear tyres now, a lot of these guys don't run traction control because they say it helps them rotate the car a bit better, but it is starting to show. They are starting to have trouble with that rear traction.
See the trio of Pinelli, Mangano and Inestrosa have really closed up on the last couple of laps as well. Now down to 3.7 seconds it sits. They're going to have to keep a close eye on this, because if they start pulling punches with each other, it's not going to be long before Pinelli and Mangano start closing up the gap on these boys. And of course they still have that final pit stop that they owe, which they will make presumably now either the end of this lap or the end of next lap before they go onto the final lap. Just to remind you, they must run each compound of tyre, they must run it for a minimum of 1 lap here at Monza as well.
That's right, coming in then to the last 2.5 laps of this 17-lap race here at Monza. The temple of speed right now, it's Valerio Gallo, the Italian, leading the race. From Patrick Blajan, the Hungarian, from Andrew Brooks, the Canadian. This is why I love Nations Cup. Such a diverse talent pool here in Gran Turismo as we come out of Ascari. Then Gallo, I'm sure, has flashbacks of the last race, does not want to repeat himself, spinning out towards the end.
I just want to have a look at Adriano Carrata. He's down in 14th place. He must have made a mistake of some description, because he's lost 12 positions considering where he qualified, and he's looking like his case is about to come up. He looks very cross indeed, so not quite sure what's happened to the Brazilian driver. He now sits 2.6 seconds off the back of Tomoyuki Amanaka, right at the back of the field. Not a good day at the office then for Adriano Carrata. A good day though for Gallo and also for Blajan. They're in the slipstream of one another, and here comes Blajan then side by side. They run down towards the first chicane. Blajan's late on the brakes. Gallo's got the inside line, however. Does he have the track position to be able to move it? He's going to squeeze Blajan towards the curb, but Blajan then has the inside line as they flick it left. They run side by side on the curb, and they still continue to run wing mirror to wing mirror as they come in towards the curve of Grande. Now Gallo is going to have the inside line coming through this right-hander, which will give him the upper hand, but if Blajan can hold it around the outside, he will then have the upper hand going in towards the Della Roggia. This is fantastically close between these two on the penultimate lap here at Monza. Deep on the brakes we go, and Gallo is able to get the lead.
Brooks needs to really get involved in this. He's watching it. You need to get in there, Andrew, mate. You can't be watching the fight. You've got to be in it. I'm not sure why he's not having a go at Blajan Gallo yet. He's just sitting there. Maybe he's not quite got the tyre to get close enough. Maybe he's waiting or trying to buy this time, but he's running out of time. And just by sitting there, he's letting these guys dictate the race. Come on, get in there, mate.
So down the back straight we go in towards Ascari then. These guys are going to be pitting at the end of this lap, just to remind you. So the top 5 will come in for their final pit stops onto the hard tyre for their final lap in this race. And that is going to make things very interesting indeed. Coque Lopez has brought the gap down to 12.9 seconds. Miyazono is 1.5 seconds adrift of Lopez in 7th place there as well. So let's see what is going to happen as they come through in towards the Parabolica. Answers on a postcard, please, because your guess will be as good as ours as it stands between there. A little bit of a lock-up for Valerio Gallo on the ragged edge of retardation going through that right-hander. And into the pit lane these drivers will come now for their final stop onto the hard tyre and onto the final lap.
Here we are then, Coque Lopez. Let's see what that soft run did for the Spaniard. He comes round the Parabolica. Now, importantly, where is he going to be when our leaders come out of the pit lane? So they're all coming in now for that hard compound tyre. They're going to run that for the last lap of the race. Here's Coque Lopez. He's coming down the pit straight now. He's got the overspeed, 150, 160 mile an hour now. And there are our leaders. He's right on them. Look at this speed that Coque Lopez is carrying down the straight. Is he going to be able to have a move on Andrew Brooks going to T1? No, he's not. But he's right on the leading 3 cars now. And he's got a tyre advantage. It's gone exactly the right way for Coque.
This is brilliant here. So out of the Rettifilio we go then. Out of the Rettifilio in towards the Curva Grande and then in towards the Della Roggia on the final lap. It's upper hand for Coque Lopez then. Takuma Miyazono's not too far away, but I don't think he's going to be involved in this battle on the final lap. So is Lopez going to go for a full send down the inside at the Della Roggia? You bet he is. He's going to go late on the brakes down the inside of Andrew Brooks. Lopez side by side. There's contact between them. Brooks runs off the track. He had nowhere to go there. And Lopez down into 4th place. He's not able to get ahead as it stands.
Running out of time, Coque. That was a bit sloppy through there. We'll see if the stewards have anything to say about that. But now Coque Lopez, that advantage he had in that last lap is pretty much been minimised. 1st and 2nd are gone now. He will not catch them. It's going to be a run to the line for the podium. It'll be between him and Andrew Brooks. But meanwhile, front of the field is Valerio Gallo and Patrick Blajan. Those gloves are off, as you said. Those elbows are out, Tom. And here we are. Patrick Blajan looks to the outside. Will he try and go a long way around? Gallo's on the inside. No, Gallo defends.
Brilliant driving there from Valerio Gallo. Defensive line there from Andrew Brooks as they come into the Ascari chicane there for the final time. Now down in towards Parabolica. It's going to be a drag to the line, surely. You can feel it between the top 2 of Valerio Gallo and Patrick Blatter. We ride on board still with Coque Lopez, who's got a good view in front. He's going side by side with Andrew Brooks for the final podium positions. Well, you don't know where to look because they're going 2 by 2 into the final corner. It's Gallo versus Blatter then to the line in the Nations Cup World Series. What a fantastic start to the season. And Gallo surely is going to take the win. And this is fantastically close. It's a run to the line, but Gallo wins by 0.06 of a second in the Nations Cup ahead of Blajad. Coque Lopez does get 3rd ahead of Andrew Brooks, right in the dying stages of that. What a superlative race we've had in the Nations Cup.
Typical Monza race. That all came down to the wire there, and Coque Lopez with a big smile on his face. Fastest lap and a podium place after starting 11th on the grid. What a drive from the Spanish driver.
Let's have a look then, shall we, at the final race results. What a brilliant start to the Nations Cup in 2021. Valerio Gallo takes the spoils ahead of Patrick Blajan. Look at how close that gap was between the top 2. And again, a brilliant strategy from Coque Lopez. A podium after a fantastic final lap.
Well, that as well. And look at Miyazono. Both him and Coque Lopez started way down the field, I think 11th and 12th respectively, and they finished just a couple of seconds off the win. So experience really coming through for those guys. A couple of people who have struggled there. I think Baptiste Beauvoir, he was quite anonymous there as well. And of course, as you mentioned, Adriano Carrazzo off the back of the field in 14th. That is not where we're used to seeing him.
Certainly not. Well, let's have a look and see what it means for the points standings then, shall we, after round 1 for the Nations Cup. Of course, 3 points there for Valerio Gallo, only the top 3 drivers scoring points in this race, ahead of Patrick Blajan and Coque Lopez. So you can see from 4th down to 14th, 10 drivers not getting themselves off the scoreboard. That is going to be advantage to the top 3 as we progress throughout the 2021 season.
Thank you. Brilliant stuff from Italy's Valerio Gallo. And I'm delighted to say he joins me right now. Wow, Valerio, how does that feel after what happened to you in the Manufacturers Series? That must feel pretty good.
Man, it was a revenge because after the first race, I was so depressed because I was about to do a very good race in manufacturers. But yeah, I made a mistake for myself at the lap 5, and yeah, let's say I wanted to make my comeback in the Nations Cup at full speed, full power. Tried to recover my energy for the last race. And yeah, I managed to do it. And I'm so happy right now. So
yeah, I mean, you were pretty cross. I mean, you threw your gloves away. I mean, that's quite tricky to shake off. How did you do it?
Yeah.
Did you do some deep breathing, make a cup of tea? What did you do?
I went outside to take a little bit of fresh air, because in these cases, you feel the pressure and all this stuff that makes you nervous. So I try to stay alone with myself, just let's say putting all the bad memories away and trying to cancel everything to make the next race even better. So yeah.
You were under a lot of pressure, but between you and Patrick Blajan, it was kind of toing and froing a little bit. How did you keep your cool? Because it could have gone either way there.
Yeah. Also, let's say in the first part of the race, we were also with Devson, with Andrew Brooks, and we were like, let's say, making teamwork until, let's say, Fuvaros was losing pace. Then I tried to, let's say, also overtook Devson, and then I tried to overtake also Patrick, because I wanted to stay behind to save tires and then attacking at the end. It was still very close, because I know Fuvaros is very aggressive on the overtake, so everything could have happened there. So, but yeah, I managed to defend it. I'm so proud, and yeah, I made my revenge.
I mean, let's be honest, let's think about the World Finals and just how, you were so close, so close. So,
yeah.
In kind of the sort of time between sort of now and then, how have you been preparing? Like, how determined are you to, go forward and win more and win the final Nations Cup this year? Are you going to do it? Come on, Valerio, tell us.
Yes. Let's say my mindset surely changed since the last years, because I started to believe in myself and in, let's say, also improving my driving style. And this year, guys, I would like to become champion, So I'm totally trying to do it, because I feel like it's probably my moment, and I want to still believe in myself and try to make it. So, yeah.
So you think you're going to do it? Just tell us. Say yes, a big resounding yes. Are you going to do it, Valerio?
Yes!
That's what we wanted to see. Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Valerio, and good luck moving forward. And, thanks so much for chatting to us. Right, let's get Tom and Jimmy's thoughts, on all of that.
Thanks, Julia. I mean, that was another action-packed race, Jimmy. What do you make of it?
It's a typical Monza race, really, wasn't it? Just action up and down the field, and, of course, a tight finish for 4 or 5 different cars. Always amazing to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a recap, shall we, and see the key moments from that race. So a standing start, of course, and we saw Andrew Brooks qualifying on pole position with Adriano Carrazza alongside. However, it didn't stay that way for long. It all kicked off in the first couple of corners. Yeah, and Benelli, bless him, got just absolutely just hung up to dry into the gravel trap. Got a season ticket for there now. Then Verigano picked up a penalty, and after, of course, his first race at Suzuka, that would have been a big blow for him, dropped down to 3rd place. But at the front was Blajan and Brooks, who fought for the majority of the race, and while Gallo tried to find his way back to the front. Yeah, absolutely right. At this point, you can see Blajan leading the way. Brooks, though, running a bit wide. That allows Valerio Gallo to try and fight his way through. They ran side by side through the Curva Grande at this point. However, we had to keep a close eye on things a bit further back, because Takuma Miyazono and Koke Lopez on a different strategy, and they were coming up the field like a dose of salt as they ran through on different tyre compounds compared to those at the front of the field. At this point, Valerio Gallo took the lead away. However, you can see on the final lap, Koke Lopez managed to mug Andrew Brooks for the podium positions.
Exactly what that meant for Valerio as well. Absolute zero to hero after Suzuka. From glove throwing to pick them up, put them back on again and winning the race. Not bad.
Absolutely. It doesn't get much better than that, does it, for Valerio Gallo? What a way to turn around a start to a season. So let's have a look then, shall we, at the top 3 finishers from that race. Koke Lopez for Spain takes 3rd place. Patrick Blajan for Hungary takes 2nd. And then Valerio Gallo on home soil in Italy wins the Nations Cup in round 1 of the World Series.
Thanks, guys. We've had 2 great races, but just before we hold the podium ceremonies, the FIA Gran Turismo Championships are proud to officially announce a new partner on board. As you heard earlier, BBS have joined as our official wheels supplier, and I have to tell you, I don't think I've seen Jimmy this excited since, well, ever. And here's a special message from BBS's representative president, Noremasa Nasaka.
BBS はモータースポーツを原点とした企業です。レースで勝てるホイールを供給したい。この一点でスタートしました。複雑なデザインを金型で作り出すという製法にこだわり、仕上げはすべて人の手で行う。強くしなやかで美しいホイール、これが BBS のホイールです。私どものホイールを採用していただいたチームは数々の栄冠を手にしてまいりました。 BBS はグランツーリスモのパートナーになりました。グランツーリスモを通じて世界中の若い方々にBBS をより知っていただきたく思います。 e スポーツはもちろん、ぜひリアルなモータースポーツにも興味を持ってほしいと思います。
It's great to have BBS alongside us. And Jimmy, have you kind of recovered? Do you want to show everyone the face that you made when you were told this in the meeting?
I think I had a meeting beforehand saying I'm not allowed to legally make that face again. So I'm gonna save you from all that. You don't want that.
I mean, what is it about BBS? Why is this kind of like such a big deal for you?
Well, as someone who is rapidly approaching their 30s, which is awful to say, back in GT2 I used to love just smashing all my old Japanese cars on these BBS wheels. They all look just absolutely amazing. So to sort of see them kind of back to the series in this way, it's nostalgia hit. I'm a big fan.
You're getting like a slight preview of what his face was like when he found out, just like grinning like
it's not
like Okay, amazing. Well, look, it's been an incredible day of racing, but it is time now for the podium ceremonies. First up is the Manufacturers Series, so let's join Tom to pay tribute to today's star performers.
Thanks, Julia. Now then, it is time for the podium for the Manufacturers Series. In third place for Team Subaru, it's Japan's Takuma Miyazono. In second place for Team Mazda, it's Japan's Ryota Kokumon. And the winner of World Series 1 for Team Porsche, it's Chile's Angel Inestrosa. Congratulations to Angel Inestrosa. And now, though, it is time for the national anthem of our winning manufacturer, Team Porsche of Germany.
Brilliant stuff. Well done, Angel Inestrosa, representing Team Porsche. Before we have the podium for our Nations Cup, we'd like you to help us choose our Michelin Driver of the Day. Jimmy, come on now, what do you think? I'm not going to get involved. Who would be your hot picks?
I feel like you always put me in the spot here, Jules.
Yeah, that's literally what I do.
Not very nice of you. Well, a couple of ideas, I'd say, for that. First of all, Angel Inestrosa, because amazing race from him in Porsche. Great to see him back on top again, arguably where he belongs, of course. Also, Valerio Gallo for his revenge race.
Okay, I mean, I didn't know that was a thing, but okay, yeah.
Very dramatic, Valeria, I like that. But I'd have to probably say Coque Lopez, because he started 11th in the first race. We sort of actually missed that. Had a really strong strategy at the end. I think if he didn't have that little battle with Brooks, he'd actually maybe have won that. So really strong performance from him.
I mean, he just super snuck in right at the end. It was like suddenly, ba-boom, Lopez is there in your wing mirror. That's it.
Suddenly Lopez.
Suddenly Lopez. Head to the Gran Turismo Facebook, Twitter or Instagram stories and get voting. And, you know, if you happen to disagree with Jimmy's thoughts, you can, of course, politely let him know in the chat.
Please.
Politely. Tough choice, that. Good luck to everyone choosing your Michelin driver of the day. 3 drivers who made their own luck today are now ready for the ceremony of that thrilling Nations Cup race. Over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Julia. Let's have a look, shall we, then, at the podium for the Nations Cup. In third place, representing Spain, it's Coque Lopez. In second place, for Hungary, it's Patrick Blajan. And the winner of World Series 1 in the FIA Gran Turismo Championships for the Nations Cup, congratulations to Italy's Valerio Gallo! And now then, it is time for the national anthem of Italy.
Great stuff. Well done once again to today's Manufacturers Series winners, Team Porsche and their driver, Engel Inestrosa. And of course, congratulations to our Nations Cup winner, Valerio Gallo, representing Italy. Thanks as always to Tom, and I guess you as well. Have you had a nice time?
Oh, thank you for asking. I think it's been awesome. I'm super looking forward now to World Series 2. If it's like that, it's going to make our jobs a hell of a lot easier, so I'm very happy.
Just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun. And it's been brilliant today to watch, so do make sure you subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube channels so you don't miss any of the next exciting instalment. I don't know about you, Jimmy, but I think that's quite enough excitement for one day, so we will see you next time. Bye.